Great to have you this Sunday afternoon from 3 to 6, our new starting time here on The Peach. Bob Lockamy along with Ash Quakenbush. Yes, Ash is here. We're controlling the board today. Rush has his Snurdly. Ash has got the glass today. Will Kaufman graduated over the weekend and having a family get-together this weekend. Just a great time to celebrate that great graduation. And we'll be talking to Lynn here in just a moment. And then we'll be kicking off the afternoon. Dr. Larry Lemack with us from 4 to 5 today. Justin Kraft between 5 and 5:30. Chris Kringle this afternoon, our last hour, as well as an update from Campus Spirit. And David Carrington, Jefferson County Commissioner, President of the Jefferson County Commission, is going to be with us here from 3:30 to 4 today talking about UAB and the impact and effect on the county and where David Carrington thinks all this may or may not be going. A lot of things to talk about today. Will Muschamp, now the defensive coordinator, Auburn University. Folks, that's big news. Big news. A lot of folks nationally think that this will have an incredible impact on both Alabama and Auburn football as far as Auburn's ability to recruit defensive, top 5 defensive players. So we are now going to join first and foremost, and then we'll be calling John Gibbons with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in just a few moments. And Ash, if you will, I've got the number right here for John. I'm going to pass that along to you. And Lynn Scarborough with us. Lynn?
Bob, I'm here. How are you, bud?
Well, Lynn, we're doing well. It's a heck of a weekend. A lot of ways, great news at Auburn University. Of course, very tragic news that still is in the making. But as far as a redshirt freshman athlete getting tragically lost his life last night.
Yeah,
but,
and he was a good player. I did not know him personally, but I've talked to people probably as you have at Auburn.
Yes.
This was a young man with great potential. He was a 4-star player. He was a legit tight end H-back prospect, and would have been in the mix in the spring to take over that position, or at least be in the play-in rotation for that position. So it's a loss of not only a fine young man, but also a guy that has some potential on the field.
Absolutely, Lynn. Let's do this. There'll be much more coming forth in that issue over the next few hours, the next few days, and we'll stay in touch with you. As a matter of fact, over the next few days in regard to that. And I know your time is very tight. Let's get your immediate reaction to Will Muschamp, Coach Gus Malzahn offering, Will Muschamp accepting, and being on board now.
Yeah, well, I think it's an even better thing for Auburn than just what appears on the surface with Coach Muschamp. I think he was the best available candidate out there. Most everybody would agree with that. Some folks would say, well, why would he come back to Auburn again? Maybe it's because it is coming back to Auburn again. He was very successful on the field when he was there. Auburn was in the top 10 in a number of categories of defense. They have not been as good on defense since he left. His family, Auburn's a good place to raise a family. It's a good place to live. His family was pleased with that. He's got a lot of connections in the state of Alabama. So there's a lot of reasons for him to come back, including players that Auburn will have on the field next year. Carl Lawson comes back. That was a huge loss to Auburn this year. Trey Matthews becomes eligible after his red shirt, probably be in the starting Auburn defensive backfield. This is a team that's going to have good players, and Coach Muschamp is smart enough to look at that and realize that's the case. So he comes in with Coach Malzahn having good players and been at a place that he's already comfortable. But even bigger than that, from the Auburn standpoint, he brings Tavarius Robinson with him. All ACC safety at Auburn, certainly a position where Auburn needed some help. He's been coaching that position at Florida. He's a very articulate young man and an outstanding recruiter. Something, Bob, that got lost in.
And we just lost Lynn there for a moment, but and that's all right because Lynn's very tight on his time this afternoon. Lynn's got a 3:30 commitment this afternoon. We had a little bit of a technical glitch getting ourselves kicked off at 3 this afternoon, but we're all running and flowing now. And let's go to John Gibbons. And John Gibbons, the state director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, on the line with us now. John, how are you?
Doing great, Bob. How are you today?
Well, John, we're doing well. The Campus Spirit folks very proudly, as well as Daniel A. Moore, New Life Art, sponsor our weekly, John, Fellowship Christian Athletes feature between 3:15 and the bottom of the hour. And I know you greatly appreciate that, allowing us to partner with you and Jack Baker and the great folks of the Fellowship Christian Athletes to get the word out, let folks know how to get in touch with the FCA, how to participate, how to volunteer, how to contribute. And, John, you and I both know that's the lifeblood.
Well, we do. We appreciate their sponsorship of this time, and FCA is made up of over 50,000 young people in FCA groups across the state and huddle groups in junior high, high school, and colleges. And we can't do it without the support of corporate sponsors and individual monthly donors, and it takes a big team effort.
John, it does. And John, now you have been the state director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. How many years?
Well, I've been with FCA 31 years, and of that, about 21 as the state director.
And John, take us back. Your playing days at Auburn University back in the early 80s, along with now chaplain of the Auburn FCA huddle, and that's Chet Williams. You and Chet were together, along with Jay Jacobs. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah. It was, most of my playing time was in the 70s, and then overlapped a couple of years, and Coach Dye's first 2 years, and they were good teammates back in those days.
John, let's talk for a moment about Auburn's the good news this weekend of Will Muschamp coming on board, and some of the dust settling. Players are impacted when a coach is dismissed. Players are impacted when the coach comes in. Will Muschamp has been there before, but most of these players, I'm not sure. I guess a fifth-year senior might remember Coach Muschamp, but your feelings from an FCA standpoint as to how that impacts a team.
Well, players are always loyal to the coaches that recruited them and brought them in. When you have a coaching change, there's also the opportunity that everybody's back on equal footing, and you got to win your position again. So it creates a spirit of competition, and I'm sure as talented of coordinator as Coach Muschamp is, that it'll bring some life and some competition for guys that compete for a position.
John, it's been, as you said, you played almost 30-something years ago plus, and I didn't mean to date you or age you over Jay Jacobs and Chet Williams. You guys, but John, you've been at it quite some time, and it's you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot on the college level. You've seen a lot on the high school level. But what occurred late last night, Auburn tragically, another player tragically was lost to what appears obviously to be a senseless act. And Brother Chet Williams, yourself, put us in the middle of that right now as far as the FCA. What's happening now?
Well, obviously, I was visiting Chet last week, and Jaquel Rent came into his office to stop by and say hello, and it was neat to see Chet minister to him a little bit. And Chet Williams is right there as a chaplain, and unfortunately, this is the second time this is happening in 4 years. And it's going to be devastating. It is going to shake this team, and it's going to bring folks to a realization that, life is short, and that we need to be ready to meet our Savior. This is very tragic. And the positive side for Auburn players is that they do have a strong FCA program. They do have Chet Williams there full time with an office right there to help those kids, and our other staff, Randy Roberts and Wayne Dickens, Mitchell Dean, all those guys will be right there to help in this trying situation.
John, of course, this past year, the tragic death of Philip Lutzenkirchen, and Philip's dad, Mike, he is, as Brother Chet's book, Hard Fighting Soldiers, out there on the battlefield, and Mike Lutzenkirchen out there speaking to young athletes and coaches. All that comes in so many different ways from the impact the Fellowship of Christian Athletes had with Philip Lutzenkirchen.
Yeah, Brother Mike is using this tragedy to speak of the message of, Philip was an awesome young man and that he made a mistake in his last hour of his life. And he's using that. He spoke the other night at a couple of our FCA events in North Alabama, and just trying to get parents, young people, to wake up to the fact of drinking and driving and to make the right choices. And, again, the platform we have as athletes, platform the Fellowship of Christian Athletes has in that arena is to make an eternal difference and to present the gospel and to impact lives immediately, to do what we do for the glory of God, to take that talent that we've been given as athletes and to display the glory of God through it, not to use it for selfish gain. And, those that are listening today, I hope that these two situations we've described will let us know that life is but a vapor. It's just here for a moment, and it's what we do for the glory of God that matters, and that we need to do all we can to reach out and make sure folks know that Jesus is their Lord and Savior.
John, let's go back again to the late 70s, early 80s. Auburn lost to player Greg Pratt, tragically, to dehydration, overheating. You recall, John, how, and John, before you answer that, let me go back. One of your dearest members of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Mike Colon, and I were on a team at Berry High School in the 60s where we lost a player on the field during practice. And I know that Mike was a mainstay for us there, senior on our football team. But take us back to how the team reacted then. And I know Brother Chet was on that team.
Yeah, I tell you, it's though it's many, many days ago, it seems like yesterday. One day you're training beside an athlete, you're in the locker room beside him, and you're running the same 440s as what we used to run. And, you just expect as a young teenager, early 20s, that this is just another workout. And just like when we kiss our teenagers goodbye in the morning to go to school, or a loved one goodbye, that might be the last time. The surreal fact of all this is that God is trying to get our attention to eternity. Life is but a vapor, and there's an urgency in my life now at 54, like never before, to see people come to Christ. I plead with you to look at the love of Jesus Christ and Him hanging on that cross for your sins, to die for you so you could have eternal life. I plead with folks in the sound of my voice today to commit their life to Him, to know Him in a personal and intimate way. No one loves you more than Jesus, and no one has a greater life plan for you. And so whether it's a football team, a basketball team, or just moms playing in the park today with their kids, there's an urgency in this time that our days are short and they're numbered, and the only security we can have is through a personal relationship with Christ.
Amen, John.
That's what we need to learn.
Amen, John Gibbons. John Gibbons. John, as we wrap up here, our Fellowship Christian Athletes feature again, we so thank Greg Mayo and with Campus Spirit and Daniel A. Moore with New Life Art. John, I'll be heading down to Montgomery Friday morning, bright and early, with Jack Baker, the director for North Central Alabama Fellowship Christian Athletes, and we're looking forward to coming down to have some breakfast with you. Tell us more about that breakfast.
Well, I tell you, it's bowl season, and all the bowl games will have a FCA prayer breakfast. We got one Friday at the Renaissance with the two teams, Bowling Green and South Alabama. We've got about 6 players going to share testimonies at our bowl breakfast. And then Rich Wingo, former University of Alabama player, very powerful testimony. He's going to be our keynote and share. And then we'll head on down to the Senior Bowl where we have our annual Chick-fil-A SDA rally there on January 21st. And we're expecting 3,000 students at that event.
John, did you just say 3,000?
Oh, yeah, 3,000 students at our rally Wednesday night of the Senior Bowl.
John, I just got to tell you, it gives me chills as a father. And our two little boys are only 34 and 38 now. And I know your children are growing quickly. But and that Senior Bowl Fellowship Christian Athletes Breakfast has evolved into just and John, the breakfast we're coming to Friday originally was the blue-gray breakfast, and after that game went away, your breakfast continued, and you put close to 1,000 people in for that breakfast.
Yeah, it's been a Christmas tradition for Montgomery, and we're excited, though, now to have a game back. So we're expecting another sellout crowd downtown. Both teams are committed to come, and if people would like to see how they can get tickets, go to alabamafca.org and bring some young people to hear the gospel.
John, Coach Joey Jones will be coming in with his South Alabama Jaguars, and you and I both know that Coach Jones, whether it's from Dora High School, way back, Mountain Brook High School, Birmingham Southern, and now at South Alabama, that Coach Joey Jones is a strong, strong proponent for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Well, he really is, and we're really excited because we got about 6 South Alabama players wanting to speak. They got a real strong program, and their whole team will be at the breakfast, and Joey's going to say a word that morning as well.
John Gibbons, thank you so much for taking time this afternoon to be with us on our weekly Fellowship of Christian Athletes feature. We had good news, we had bad news, tragic news to talk about as far as what's happening on Auburn University campus. And John, there are so many different things happening throughout the high school, junior high school, and college arena. Our hats off to you, John Gibbons, and your team of leadership throughout the state of Alabama. And I so look forward to seeing you bright and early Friday morning.
Look forward to it, Bob, and thank you for your support through your radio program today.
We try to do our part, John. Thank you so much.
God bless.
John Gibbons, the state director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, his office down in Montgomery. Ash, you able to? Ash, you are doing an incredible job today. We'll get Ash's mic on there in just a second. Well, folks, he's blushing as I said that. So, did we get you there, Ash? Not yet. Well, I'll tell you what we can do. While Ash is pushing a few buttons, David Carrington, have a seat. Have a seat, David.
How are you, Robert?
David Carrington, we're well. How are you?
Ash looks pretty good in that red shirt and green T-shirt.
Got that green T-shirt on. He's got that Christmas. So
he's Santa Claus.
He's got 3 precious daughters.
He's got the beard going on, too.
Yeah, he does. And guess who's coming in our last hour this afternoon, David?
Who's that?
Chris Kringle.
All right.
Chris Kringle will be.
The real one? Right here. In the studio.
Chris Kringle. Right here. Test. Oh, there's Ash.
Did that work?
Ash, we think so. We're hearing you. Yeah, it did work.
All right. So
yeah,
that button
working.
Doesn't make it work.
Okay, no, it's working now, but that button did.
I'm afraid to push any more buttons. I don't know what makes it come on and what makes it go off.
David, I know this will make sense. Ash is a veteran on this side of the glass.
Oh,
okay. And we threw Ash into the arena today. Will Kaufman, one of the most incredible interns I have ever, over 30-something years, worked with, graduated yesterday from the University of Alabama. Fine young man. And his mom, dadgum her, she planned a family get-together this afternoon. You know how that goes.
I know how that goes.
But
and he's very smart.
Yes, he is. He said, Mr. Lockamy, I don't think I can make it. I said, you better not make it. David Carrington, we're going to come right back to you in just a moment. David Carrington. Now, you're still the president of the county commission?
No, I'm not.
No, that's all been transitioned.
It's all been transitioned. Second term.
Second term. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Glad to have you there.
I'm glad to be there.
By all means, we're going to talk UAB football in just a moment. Now for a moment, I'm going to talk about Red Wing shoes. There might be the need for some steel-toed boots down at UAB, I guess, right now. You didn't say that, I did. But let's talk Red Wing shoes. 4 great locations. Now, folks, hear me clearly. There are 2 retail locations. These are storefronts. One in Pelham, one Red Wing shoe store in Trussville. But if you're driving down Highway 31 in Pelham, you look over to the right, going south, the Public Center, where you can turn right, go to Helena, as some people say, and you will see one of those other 2 Red Wing shoe store offices. It's a big box truck, and you won't miss it because it's Red Wing. Got the big red wings and the big boots on the side, and I want to stress to the company out there, the companies out there, the owners of your companies and all industrial companies, you just call Red Wing, 444-0360 or 655-9288, and they will arrange for one of the big box trucks to come see you. Now, let me say this too. It is the December 14th, and so we've got about 10 days left till Christmas. Now, folks, you want to make it easy? Go to the Red Wing shoe store near you and get a gift certificate. Get a gift certificate. Now, let me make something clear. The Red Wing shoe stores, I just said, are not all boots, okay? They've got everything from recreational footwear, hiking boots, recreational casual footwear, along with the incredible Red Wing boots line, and belts and straps and everything, laces. They got it all, incredible sockwear. So we want to encourage you to get by the Red Wing shoe store near you, whether it's Pelham or whether it's out in Trussville. And you can do a lot of easy Christmas shopping there. So, and we'll be talking a little bit later about our friends at Sharper Image, and we hope that Justin Majudi and all his guys are out there with great footwear. The Sharper Image landscaping folks, they take care of lawns, landscaping, residential and commercial. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But, Ash, let's get Mr. Carrington full swing.
All right. Here goes.
Ash, isn't he sounding good, David?
He's sounding phenomenal.
Fingers crossed.
So smooth.
Works.
You know, and like Fernando says, he looks good, too. You know what? Better to look good than to feel good. Right?
Now, Ash, we're picking up someone else talking.
I don't know. I was trying to play music.
Yeah, we'll pass on the music.
All right.
Yeah, that was Boogie Woogie Boy on the Bette Midler. Now, that's a good one.
I don't know where it started, so.
That's okay. That's okay. And, you know, I love this. Tommy
Trial by
Charles.
fire.
Ash, you never knew Tommy Charles, did you?
No.
No. Wish you had. He'd be so proud right now because we're on the air and we're rolling. David, you reflect back Tommy Charles, John Ed.
John Ed and Tommy Charles. When I first moved here, that was it.
That was it. Then,
1978.
Patty and the Doc were hanging around a little bit. Rick and Bubba came charging.
Remember Bert and Kurt.
Leighton and Dearman.
How about that?
Later. So this is the way I love this. This is good old radio.
It is.
Yeah, not hard cut and dried and this and that. And we've got a bevy of sponsors, David, that help us make this happen. Every Sunday afternoon, very unique time. I mean, did you have to get up from your nap?
Actually, you know, my office is right down the road here, and we're shipping products for Christmas.
Your NASCAR office.
Our NASCAR office.
Well, before we talk some football, tell us more about that.
Well, we have RacingUSA.com, and we're the second largest NASCAR retailer in the world behind NASCAR.com, and we ship all over the place, and it's Christmas, and we're doing it.
You can't bump NASCAR.com.
No, I would think that the brand would always be a little bit larger.
You know something, David? It's interesting you say that, though. The folks who are working on bringing us professional soccer, which is going to happen, it's going to be the Birmingham Hammers, okay?
HAMMERS?
Yes. They want folks to come out and get hammered and in a nice way.
Okay.
But part of their operation before all this started to happen is with FIFA, okay? And right here in Birmingham, Alabama, is the largest quantity internet sales of I see your dollar signs clicking there.
Actually, 365 Inc.
Yeah.
is a huge rugby and soccer internet retailer. And great guy.
This may be part of what I'm talking about.
It probably is.
Couldn't be. So NASCAR, it's not done yet.
Oh no! I mean, it's gone through its problems. When we first started, that it was phenomenal, and then 2008 with.
Oh yeah, and I'm sorry, I was only meaning the actual racing season this year.
Just finished last week.
Just finished. Great sport. Starts Valentine's Day, more or less, and ends November, more or less, and then I have Christmas.
Who won?
Kevin Harvick.
Harvick, okay. Not Dale Earnhardt.
No.
Junior.
Junior.
Dale Jarrett.
He made the chase for the first time in a few years.
He did make the chase.
Hey, can I ask a question? All right, Dale Jarrett. All right. His dad was Ned Jarrett.
That's right.
That's right. Because when Feinbaum and I got started in this stuff, someone would sneak in a call and try to trip us up. Who's going to win Sunday? Paul would pass to me, and I always said, Dale Jarrett. Never failed. Never failed for me to give that answer.
Did he ever win?
I'm not sure.
He won the championship one year. He won.
Oh, he did?
He won some races, yeah. He did.
Well, his dad and
nice
some of those guys, Buddy Baker and all those guys, Cale Yarborough.
I think he's running the speedways, take a car and go out and drive the track now.
Dale Jarrett is?
Yeah, it's his business.
After I get through in the early spring on a project we're working on, I may go do that.
You ought to. You ought to also jump out of an airplane like that.
Oh, my son had. You did.
I did.
Ash, you ever done that? You ever skydived?
Nope.
Nope. Well,
I loved it.
Now, you got 3 children, young children. Don't do it for the next 10
He can't do
years.
it until they're...
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with it.
They're out of college.
Yeah, out of college.
Yeah.
Oh, he says that's not why you wouldn't jump?
I have a terrifying fear of my own mortality. So
Yeah. You ought to see him climbing out of his truck out there. It's a slow process at height and all.
He's afraid he might
jumped?
fall that 2 foot.
You jumped?
I did.
Where did you jump?
Up in Coleman.
Oh, yeah, there's a good airstrip.
There's a good airstrip, and they help you out. And there was about, I think 20 of us jumped that day. Gary Palmer jumped.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
We raised some money for CDKL5 research.
Oh, for Carly's clubhouse.
We surely did.
Right.
And we're planning on you doing it next year.
Justin Chandler, I tell you what, now my son, our youngest son, I think hopefully you've seen the Lockamy brothers on Feinbaum. They're on ESPN SEC Network now. They've taken the Iron Bowl hour, the best 30 minutes in college football, to the next level. Okay. Will the Thrill, our youngest, jumped at 16.
Wow.
Yeah, and did a tandem. That was the only tandem, and then 200 and something jumps after that. What was it like, David?
It was totally different than I thought, because I thought you would feel the air as you were dropping down, but somehow you get an equilibrium, and you get this Superman feeling, where you want to put out the arms and sort of go to the right and go to the left, and it was about 5 minutes, but I would have sworn it was less than a minute. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Now, our older son did a tandem, and the jump master, Sandy, up at Pell City, gave him the jump, okay, because Will had helped her out on some things. And out he goes, and out goes the guy with the camera,
right?
Okay? So they get to the bottom, and Reed safely lands. Sandy comes running up to him and says, "Oh, Reed, I am so sorry. Had a malfunction on the camera. I'm going to give you another jump." And Reed said, "Well, thank you, Sandy, so very much, but I've had my jump," and he loved it. Ash, you would love it. No? He says no.
Don't think so.
I've got the video.
Oh, you got yours video.
I got my video.
I'd like to see it sometime.
Please come
Have
by.
you posted that on YouTube?
No, I mean, just for friends only.
Well, I got you. Now, let me tell you. Let me ask you. Justin Chandler, Carly's Clubhouse.
Right.
This is incredible.
Yeah. What he's
tell
done.
Us a little, because you got involved some.
I did. There's a byproduct of hemp, quite frankly, that they've discovered in some tests, that the oil extract will stop the seizures on these little children. Dustin's daughter, Carly, who is, I guess, about 3 years old. If you've seen some of the video, she might have
just so 40, precious
little girl, 40 seizures a minute when she has these one right after the other. And there's been some research that shows that this byproduct would help alleviate this problem for these children. And of course, trying to get a law through. Anytime you talk about hemp or marijuana, you get some segment that feels like you're legalizing marijuana. But at the end of the day, Dustin worked it. He worked it hard. Alan Farley out of McCalla was very integral in
State representative.
State representative, and it passed, I think, unanimously, but probably 6 weeks before the bill was to be voted on, I doubt you could have found 5 or 6 votes for it.
Yeah,
So,
and now, though, if I understand correctly, and we're going to be talking to Justin in the next week or two, there is a snag somewhere on the federal level.
Been resolved.
Been
in
resolved.
The last 48 hours, I think. The FDA has approved
Really?
UAB to administer the program and do research. So I think we're on track to get started, if not this week, right after the first of the year.
Well, and hats off to you, David, and Gary Palmer, and all the other folks, Mayor Waters from Pelham.
Mayor Waters was actively involved and jumped. He's jumped twice.
Twice. And, you know, the city of Pelham is working with Justin Chandler on an incredible playground.
That day, I think there were 5 or 6 firefighters that also jumped.
Yeah.
From Pelham.
Well, I will say this, too. When we took the, what was that challenge thing? You dumped all that cold water?
Yeah.
What was that
The,
called?
Ice bucket challenge.
Ice bucket.
I didn't want to hear it again.
Yeah,
Have you ever done that?
I did that. I did it early on, but I actually sent in my money. I wonder how many people
Yeah. Some
did
folks
it and didn't contribute.
It's the most unbelievable thing I've ever experienced. I haven't skydived.
The power of the internet.
Yes, absolutely.
Power of the internet.
Forget the cold rush. It was, but there were a lot of folks there that day here at Cross Creek Baptist Church taking the Ice Bucket Challenge, and some of those were committing some things too, just the awareness to Carly's Clubhouse.
Yep.
Let's talk UAB.
Yep. I'm sorry I couldn't get in last week.
No,
appreciate the
David.
invite.
Well, David, I commend you. Invitation was there, Ash, and David wanted to be here. Had a commitment in his church. Which church is that, David?
Shades Mountain Baptist.
Oh, well, you don't want Danny Wood to get let down.
Well, Danny might not know if I was there or not, but someone far more important than
That's right.
Danny would have known if I was there.
That's right. And what a great church you guys have. And what a great holiday schedule. And from your choir to all the different folks, and more importantly, your outreach in the community.
You know, I don't remember on an annual basis. There's, I think, about 3,000 mission trips that are taken.
Yeah.
You know, to all over. Before I got involved with the Jefferson County Commission, I was going to Thailand, doing micro business enterprise kind of seminars, and so look forward once this gig is up, getting back overseas and helping out.
All right, David, let's talk UAB.
UAB.
All right, you came out a couple of weeks ago and all this hit the fan. And it hit the fan publicly. A lot of things have been brewing behind the scenes. Ash and I have been talking about this. We've been watching it, but it all kind of mushroomed. You came out with a plan. You came out with a process in essence. Tell us more about that.
Well, actually, it's funny how things work. On November the 2nd, I actually tweeted that what would be great for Birmingham and UAB is to have a stadium north of UAB and south of Regions Field for UAB football. Little did I know that several weeks later we're going to be discussing actually the end of UAB football. And I have to say that, first of all, that I know Ray Watts. I like Ray Watts. I respect Ray Watts. That doesn't mean that I agreed with him on this decision. It was sort of, in my opinion, in the dark of night and out of the blue. And so the commission, I wrote a letter that was signed by all 5 commissioners that asked Ray Watts to form a task force of local elected officials, both at the city, at the county, and at the state, as well as business leaders, as well as community leaders, as well as members of the Alabama Sports Foundation, to sit down to better understand what the problems were and to see what, if anything, could be done to save UAB football. I think I'm in the minority, Bob. I think there will be UAB football. Now, I'm not so sure it'll be next year, but I think I think this is a precipitating event, and sometime in the next decade we'll see UAB football resurrected.
Very interesting observation, David, and I concur with you. Now let's...
The sad thing, Bob, I'm going to say, is that we've done a significant damage. I'm not so sure next year where we would be if there was a reversal. But one more thing. Mr. Watts, Dr. Watts said it was his decision alone. If that's the case, then it's his decision to say, I didn't realize the impact this was going to have, and the passion that Alabama fans, Auburn fans, Samford fans, or just Birmingham fans would have on his decision. So hopefully we can make some progress over the next few days.
Death threats, I've heard all, it's happened, and I mean security, and that's such a sad commentary. Shifting positive again, though. Brian Mackin has been demoted, in essence, taken out as athletics director. Don't you think, David, and I really like what you said, and I'm a UAB guy. I graduated finally back in the 90s, School of Urban Studies, study of the city, and I like more the non-economic impact myself, image, perception, those type things, but greatly appreciate the economic impact that you deal with every day on the county commission. But, all right, now, UAB needs an athletics director. Got a basketball team, got a soccer field being improved, got a baseball team, got women's sports. Don't you think that right now may be such a high priority? Put a search committee together, find someone that can come in and calm the waters, keep the athletics going, and if football comes back in 3, 5, 7, whatever, if we expand the Civic Center, we have a facility. But don't you think an AD now?
Bob, I hate to be the pessimist, but I'm not so sure I'd want the job until there was more a vision on what the direction was going to be. I don't think you'd get the visionary that could bring back and expand the program that an urban university desires, be it Louisville or Pittsburgh or Houston or Cincinnati. I don't think you're going to get that visionary that you're going to need with all this turmoil. So, I'm not so sure I agree with you. It's not that I don't disagree with you, but I'd like to see a little bit more closure. And I don't think Ray Watts he hasn't got closure yet. Right. He hasn't gotten closure. I want to make one comment, though,
sure,
based upon what you said, because I really agree with you, forgetting the economic impact, the social and the cultural impact of athletics at UAB. When I first ran for office in Vestavia Hills, I know maybe some of your listeners don't know, I was on the city council from 2004 to 2010. I ran on a platform that we needed to run Vestavia Hills like a business. If you recall right, we had lost Parisian, we'd lost Sears, we'd lost Yieldings, we'd lost everything.
Including Lockhamy's Barbecue.
Including Lockhamy's Barbecue.
Facetiously, but that was in the 60s.
We had significant financial difficulties. And so I ran under the premise that we really needed to run government like a business. I mean, we needed to do that.
David, I'm going to, you just took me back. I ran for mayor 10 years ago.
Yep, in Hoover.
And at that point, I made an incredibly snide remark to some friends north of Hoover in Vestavia. I said, we got industry, we got sales, we got retail, you got bedroom. Let's just put it all together. Oh, I mean, the reaction was harsh. Like, Lockamy, we will be back, and you'll come climbing up 31 to us.
Well, there were some conversations that I'm aware of, particularly when Hoover wanted to before they formed the school system of merging Vestavia and Hoover. We can get into that in a minute. I want to go back to my thought. You've got me off the track for a second. What I discovered in my first few years on the Vestavia City Council, if you ran government like a business, we wouldn't have built that beautiful library in the forest. There was no profit in that.
Right.
We wouldn't have built the 4 playing fields on Sickard Hollow Road for the kids. There was no profit in that. A public institution, be it a city or a college, shouldn't expect to make a profit on everything that they do. As someone said to me, wonder what profit the chemistry department made last year.
Right.
That's why you have endowments. That's why we ask the alumni for money. And so citing a financial reason as the only reason to kill it, I think was not a good, a good analogy.
Not a foundation to stand on to support
Not
the
a
decision.
Foundation to stand on. And then we have now all the key boosters coming out and say, I was never asked for money. I would have raised money. And so.
Let me ask a question for you, Bob.
Sure.
Do you think there's any avenue, given the similar situation that happened at Tulane with this a decade or so ago, where they didn't go quite so far as to full out cancel the program, but they announced that was their intention for some degree, and it kind of rallied groundswell, and they kept the program around. Is there any possibility of changing this decision? I mean, is there any viable solution to reversing what President Watts has put in place?
I'm going to say long term, sure. And I will. Ash, that's a great point. And David, as Ash said that, I thought back to myself, this didn't come out of the night. I mean, this has been going on for 5, 10, 15 years.
Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, it started with Jimbo Fisher. That was the straw that really broke the camel's back. Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher, I think. I mean, the University of Alabama played 2 schools in UAB's conference and paid one $1 million for this year and one $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, that smells of, trying to destroy a program. If UAB had that $2.4 million, and, what would the viewership been on those 2 games? I mean, it would have been huge. What would the attendance been? It would have breathed life into this program.
Well, and I think what Ash brings up, too, is such a great point. And Tulane, because I think there had been some openness about we got some problems, we've got to figure this out, we've got to try to work this out. There wasn't, one headline said premeditated murder. And a lot of folks, Paul Bryant Jr., they just said when his dad died in 83, that Paul Jr. took it upon himself because there had been bad blood already with UAB basketball. And then when football came along, it was like, and David, I do recall a conversation with Coach Bartow when comments were made about Title IX. And Coach Bartow said, well, I think we need to put a gymnastics program together. And that didn't fly for a couple of reasons, liability insurance, things of that nature. But UAB got a synchronized swimming team. And can you imagine, though, if Coach Bartow had proceeded on gymnastics and Sarah Patterson?
Right.
We think Wimp Sanderson got upset. So, David, you've called for, take us back again, you've called for cooler heads to prevail and there to be a team put together.
Right.
To look at this.
Yeah. I mean, across both sides of the aisle, John Rogers and Jack Williams both said, yeah, we'd love to participate. William Bell said, I'm with you, David. Let's get everybody together. And I was real careful in the letter to say what, if anything. Perhaps this can't be reversed. But, a guy you and I both like a lot, Scotty McCallum, when he was the president, he decided UAB was going to have a football team. Yeah. And so he walked in the trustees and he said, if this is about UAB football, there's nothing to discuss because I'm the president and I made the decision. Well, the parallel to that is that Ray Watts is the president and his decision. I'll go back to what Ash said. If it was Dr. Watts' decision to kill it, I think it could be his decision to say, look, I spoke prematurely. We're going to reevaluate. And what William Bell and I'd like to see is a one-year cooling off period to where we have an opportunity to put together either a funding plan for the stadium, also allow the Champions Club to raise money that's needed. The thing that Bill Clark said he really needed was an indoor practice facility. That was $7 to $8 million. I've been told by one of the key boosters that they were up to almost that amount to build that this year. And, go back. We talked about Jimbo Fisher. We talked about University of Alabama playing conference teams of UAB. What we didn't touch on was that UAB only signed a 1-year lease for Legion Field. Why someone didn't raise their hand on that and say, look, we've been doing 3 years, 3 years, 3 years. Why 1 year? I don't know. But, that was...
Do you think, David, that, and I respect and regard Brian Mackin, and I think he took on a task a few years ago that a lot of folks would have not touched, similar to what you're saying right now. Who wants to be the athletics director today? But Brian had to be aware of that. But Brian's almost like our superintendent of education in Hoover. You can say and do a lot of things, but somebody's controlling your future. And I think Brian had some uneasiness, had to have. I'm just saying my opinion. But how can that not surface to where people are going, well, what are you talking about, a 1-year contract?
Well, I would assume nobody really thought that this was the viable opportunity. That nobody really thought terminating the program was that likely of an outcome. But if you're talking a year cooling off period, are you talking maintaining football during that year, or is it?
Well, I was when we sent the letter.
Well, yeah, at this point, I mean, what's the time frame if that was to something? I mean, you're really looking at the next 30 to 60 days, right? I mean, if it's
no, their players and coaches have dispersed.
Well, they have, but I mean, you could still.
Have you heard any athletes actually offered?
Yes, I don't know any. I don't know that any athlete has. I know a couple of coaches have accepted jobs elsewhere.
I don't know if the players have go. I mean, you're in that busy, almost kind of dead period of recruiting to some degree. Anyways, I know, you've.
But let me
they
ask
will
this.
get gobbled up by the ones that can. But
as we wrap up, David, and we're going to get you back in here next couple of weeks for more an hour. I mean, this discussion.
A whole hour?
Exactly.
Wow.
Well, that's 46 minutes on there. Yeah. But, or more. But, all right, let's recap. All right. I think we're on a path right now that we're not going to see football next year. It's not.
I don't think we will either.
Yeah, and may not see it for 3 to 5 years, may never see it.
I think we'll see it.
All right. Do you think this proposal you've had is going to happen?
Well, Dr. Watts has announced he's going to open task force, including one on athletic. I don't know if we had anything to do about it or not, but he's on a path.
Well, you were the first and only person I heard that came out and said, "Look, let's get to the table.
Let's get to the table." I do want to tell you one of the things. Do we have 1 minute?
Yeah, sure.
1 minute.
We got a few minutes.
One of the things that Joe Knight, Commissioner Joe Knight, and I were talking Thursday 2 weeks ago, I guess. And Joe said, "Wouldn't it be great if UAB got a bid to the Birmingham Bowl?" And I said, "Wouldn't that be great?" And so we went and we found out who at ESPN was the key person for the Birmingham Bowl, and we called them up. We had Tony Patelis call them up. He had a connection, and we actually made our pitch. I would have hated, if I was Florida, there's one team I definitely wouldn't have wanted to play in the Birmingham Bowl. Yeah. Would have been UAB. What a Rudy Story or Remember the Titans. It would have been phenomenal.
And let me say this, David, as a former executive director of the College Football Hall of Fame when we had the bowl back here in the 70s and 80s, I thought about that. I thought about, okay, how could that happen? How could it be worked out? All right, we've got conference ties. Let's find a conference tie that we can swap.
Right.
Let's get a Conference USA swap somewhere, and let's get UAB here. But now who's going to want to play them?
If I would have had to have the first team locked in.
Locked in, and no ifs and buts, you got to play here.
Right.
So it's just a situation that's very complicated. Very complicated.
Well, we look forward to being back.
Well, David Carrington, we're going to get you back because this issue is not going to go away. No. This issue is going to continue to evolve, and a lot of work to be done. And let's do this. We wish you and your Sonia and your family the greatest holiday coming up. And hats off to you, David. You and I go way back. We go way back in your NASCAR days and all the formation there. And then also as you ran for office there in Vestavia, got in office.
Actually, you were working on David Belcher's campaign at that time.
Yeah, you remember the 800-pound gorilla, right?
I do.
That we put in the truck. I got to tell you real quick. I asked Dr. McCallum. He had that campaign office over on the side by Chuck E. Cheese.
Right.
And I said, Dr. McCallum, got a great idea. Because you couldn't see his headquarters. And I said, Reliable Rentals, now Craneworks. I said, they got this big 800-pound gorilla. Put it on top of the building. Put one of your four-leaf clover things on the front, and that'll get everybody driving up and down 31. They'll look on there and see that. And Dr. McCallum says, I like that. I like that. Let me talk to the family. So he calls me back in about an hour. He says, Lockamy, I like that. The family does not think so. And the family says this, if you think it's such a great idea, aren't you representing David Belcher? I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. He said, well, let your candidate do it. And we did.
And you did. And you got the PR.
Well, we did. We did. And we sat outside the school there by where Walmart grocery store is now, mornings and afternoon. What we didn't realize, this is brilliance, not on my part. Brilliance, when you pumped up the gorilla, and the gorilla's like this, thumbs up. Kids were coming out of the school, going into school in the morning, coming out in school in the afternoon, sticking their heads out the window, giving us thumbs up. I got paid from that, too.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it was. My wife appreciated that. All right, David,
As you walk out, take a moment to speak to one of our fine, great citizens, Dr. Larry Lee Mack, and Catherine Gwaltney, Executive Director of the National Center for Sports Safety. And when you get in that automobile, you were tuned in coming in.
Right.
Tune in 97.7 of the National Center for Sports Safety. It's going to be a phenomenal hour.
And Dr. Lee Mack's going to be on the air.
Right there.
Right there. Well, I've got to tell you, he operated on me in March.
This March?
Tell him the knee's doing
Well,
great.
you tell him he's standing right there as you walk
see
out.
him right over
Yeah,
there.
and you're mobile. You walked
Hey,
right
Doc, how are you? Look
in.
at this.
Come on in, Dr. Lee Mack. Come on
I
in.
got my boots on, too. So.
And Dr. Lee Mack, he came in mobile, just walked right in, no wincing or anything like that. Looking good, Dave.
Look forward to seeing you.
All right, tune us in.
Merry Christmas. I will.
Merry Christmas to you. All right, David Carrington. Ash, we're just simply going to say WHPH 97.7. We're going to keep it right here in the studio. We're just kind of rolling along here as we go.
Happens when you lose the first 15 minutes.
That's right. We're catching up, though. That's okay. We're catching up. You know what? It's like Auburn fumbling the football on the first play. I think it was 2. I don't think it was 3. Maybe it was 3
Surely
games.
that wouldn't happen.
It was 3
games in a row.
You know what, Ash? It was 3 games.
It was.
It was Mississippi State. It
Alabama.
was Texas A&M and Alabama. I had forgotten that. 3 games. My goodness. My goodness.
Well, it's been a busy week, a busy year, busy month.
Hectic, crazy.
Swapping out. I'll take this opportunity while we're swapping to let people know that
Transitioning.
we've made a slight improvement, I would say, into. Let me see if I see. This is going to be 3.
3, right there.
All right.
Catherine's
so they'll be
2.
on.
Yeah.
That we've made a slight improvement in terms of reaching the audience social media wise.
Yeah, tell us. Because this hour, as we start the second hour, social media wise, there are going to be a lot of people who are listening, who are thinking, who would like to participate, but we're not going, so they can exchange ideas social media wise.
Even if we're not taking calls, we have outlets you can reach us at, and it's Sports N, the letter N, Stuff FM.
Not like
Stuff
Rick and Bubba.
It'll be
and.
Sports and Stuff FM.
Yeah.
And it's facebook.com/Sports and Stuff FM, Sports and Stuff FM at gmail.com for email, and our Twitter is at Sports and Stuff FM.
Yeah, and Ash,
I'm monitoring it. I'm answering questions, and then I will try to work your questions into the show. So
and you're going to work yourself into the.
I will as I can. So.
All right, now, and let me say this. Paul Feinbaum was very pleased that you did not change the apostrophe N to A-N-D, okay? Because we were sports and stuff, in stuff, okay? And the reason we were sports apostrophe in stuff is we didn't have room on the window of my Isuzu Trooper to spell out A-N-D. We had to sort of shorten it down, so.
Well, there we go.
Yeah. How significant was that?
But so people can listen to Sports and Stuff FM and about any outlet you want. And if there's an outlet we're not looking at, email us and tell us, and we'll put it there. So
That's right. All that Instagram stuff and all the.
if people want to reach us via Instagram, we'll have Instagram. So
And Ash, for those who are listening, I've had nothing to do with this because I don't want anybody to think that I understand all that. Okay? I mean, I'd love to.
I wouldn't say that you're behind the times.
Well, but being a gump, being a growing up, maturing person, I'm still behind on that level. Okay. No fanfare, no music, no anything. Here in the studio. Catherine, welcome back.
Thank you.
Catherine Gwaltney, great to have you back.
I'm so glad to be back.
Oh, it's great to have you here. It seemed like we were talking yesterday. At your offices down on
First Avenue South.
First Avenue South. That construction is exciting.
Oh, we're so happy about it. I love being down there.
Yeah, it's really. A friend of mine's on the other end of the strip there.
Oh, okay.
The section. Rick Hartzell
Oh, yes.
and the direct communication folks.
Yes, Rick's great.
They are next door to that incredible hospitality room. Is that a way I could say that? I mean, you had a feature. They had an event there the other night that I didn't get to come to, honoring Thomas Spencer. And boy, that is just a great place to have a get together.
Yeah, The LEMAC group built that out about a year and a half ago, and it's great for events and board meetings and lots of things.
Y'all have a dynamic office level there on First Avenue, and that's that First Avenue is going from Railroad Park to Sloss Furnace, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, and they're working on building that right in front of our office. They're building that out now. So.
Well, and Catherine, I was talking to some folks in Anniston a few months ago, and someone mentioned to me, they said, that path from Railroad Park is not going to stop. They said at Sloss Furnace. Now, they knew something that hadn't been made public, I think.
Okay.
And it's going to hook into something in Anniston that's a bicycle path to Atlanta.
Okay, I have.
You've heard something about that?
A little bit about that. Now, I didn't know about it hooking up with the railroad park, but
somehow it's going to hook.
I know there's a trail that goes to. It starts, I think, right now in Jacksonville, Alabama.
Yeah. Have you ridden that path?
Oh no.
No, me either.
I'm not that athletic to.
Oh, come on, Catherine. I know better than that.
I don't stay in shape enough.
Yeah, your dad and I were such dear friends, and your dad he's a good athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Catherine, we are in our 4th National Center for Sports Safety feature. Yes. Once a month, we've been able to get together with you, and you have brought us some phenomenal people. We started off with Dr. LEMAC here, and here we are. Dr. LEMAC, good to have you back.
Thank you, Bob.
It is great to have you back. I was going over, Catherine, the notes that you sent us, and it really touched me because I think, Dr. LEMAC, that the way the world has evolved in the last few years, with safety becoming such a high profile, and a lot of questions being asked by parents and folks about, should I let my child play? Not just football, but should I let my child play soccer, basketball, baseball? And as I read over some of the information we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, some of the articles, Catherine, that you sent us, the chilling aspect of what can happen, but also the encouragement of how whatever happens can be dealt with. And that's the National Center for Sports Safety. And you guys, you got it launched 10 years ago? About
12 years
12
ago.
years ago. See, I'm just, Dr. LEMAC, you know me, I'm not good with numbers. Okay, but you have to feel really so good about what's happened.
Well, we started sports safety back in 2001, and what we were trying to do, even before it became a national crisis, we recognized that there were a lot of gaps in the care of the young athletes, especially youth and rec and high school athletes, and we were looking for ways to try to fill those gaps to make sure we had a safer and a safer playing environment for these young people.
And Dr. LEMAC, you have, and Catherine, the Prepare plan, to me, is phenomenal. I coached youth ball years ago. I think back now how the teams I were involved with, we escaped it. We never had a critical issue. Now, we did in high school. I talked about that. I've talked about it almost every time. We lost a player at Berry High School. We talked about it in the first hour with John Gibbons, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Greg Pratt passed away back in the 80s at practice at Auburn. But the Prepare program, Catherine, picking up steam.
Yes. It basically, Dr. LEMAC worked with several delegates from across the country, and they wrote this content, and it is for the Prepare course. And we launched it in 2004. And to date, we've had over 20,000 coaches nationwide take the course. And it covers everything from injury prevention to recognizing injuries to stabilizing injuries until a medical professional arrives. And as Dr. LEMAC says, it's teaching the coaches and the parents, the volunteer coaches, park and rec directors, it's teaching them what to do in a situation, but also what not to do in that situation, because it's going to happen.
Catherine, it's, you think about 12 years and what's evolved. And when you started, Dr. Lee Mack, how many folks were involved in the beginning?
Very, very few people were doing this at the time. There were very, very little information out there on taking care of athletes except for professionals. And so we designed our course for the coaches who really wouldn't have a professional there at the time when he was taking care of athletes, like a youth and rec, who to this day don't have professionals there with them. High schools, some do, some don't. But even high schools that have them don't have them there all the time. And at every sporting event, if they have a practice, they may have an athletic trainer at one practice, but they don't have them at another practice. So the coach is oftentimes the responsible adult that's looking after these kids, and part of his responsibility has to be to look after the health and safety of these kids. He is the responsible adult at these games and practices.
Scary thought in many ways, as far as, if something happens. But the momentum, Catherine, that has occurred in the last 12 years, I mean, you've got municipalities now.
Yes, we do.
That are coming on board.
Mm-hmm. We, really at the park and rec level, they're really seeing and understanding that, in order to take their youth sports programs to the next level, part of that component is safety. And adopting the NCSS programs has been an important part of that. And a lot of them are actually mandating, even with volunteer coaches, they're mandating that their coaches are a part of taking our programs, and that's just taking it to the next level. And as Dr. Lee Mack says, it's raising that standard in youth sports.
And Dr. Lee Mack, I reflect back about 10 years ago when Coach Bill Oliver, I think, was involved in a project about defibrillators. Am I saying that right? Defibrillators,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
That's correct.
That were at least distributed to some of the high school games. Question I had when that happened was, who knows how to operate this? Mm-hmm. And that's what you're doing. I mean, not defibrillators necessarily, but I mean, you're instructing. Catherine, one of the first things you talked about was make sure the gates are accessible, mm-hmm. where an ambulance can get in.
Part of an emergency action plan. It's simple plan put in place, but you have to practice it ahead of time. Dr. Lee Mack can tell many stories about that, and actually one of the stories today we wanted to talk about with emergency action plan, but that's one of the topics we cover in our course. You need to know about emergency action planning, who's unlocking the gate, who has the keys to the office where the defibrillator is, all those kinds of things you need to think about ahead of time.
And that's pretty easy too, Bob, because if you're in an emergency, you're not going to be thinking clearly, and if you haven't thought about it before, you will have no idea, because trust me, I've been in medical emergencies. Even the sophisticated professionals have a hard time focusing and worrying about the things that are important, and if they haven't done it before, it could lead to disaster.
Dr. Lee Mack, and we're going to get right into these stories, Catherine, in just a moment, but we've known each other a long time, and your involvement, football, soccer, and other sports, I'm sure, on the sideline. You've been there when the moment occurred, and now nationally and internationally, you're campaigning and lobbying this National Center for Sports Safety. This is not just something that's just Birmingham.
No, this is a national campaign. One of the interesting things, our job has become easier. It's not a good thing that our job became easier, but it's kind of a bad thing. But the awareness of concussion and the devastating effects of concussion have elevated this into the minds of every person in America. You can't walk up to somebody and talk to them about concussions, and they'll know what you're talking about. They'll know about safety. They'll know about the concerns parents have with their young athletes playing. Even adults, people playing professional sports, are all concerned about their safety. Even the President of the United States in May of this year, he weighed in on this issue. He held a summit at the White House in May and brought together people from all walks of sport to try to get them together and create the awareness, encourage people investing money into educating people and finding ways to solve the concussion problems and other sports safety issues, and really encourage people to start paying more attention to it. And I've been involved in 3 major national conferences since the president made this announcement in May, and different organizations that I work with, just on concussion, to create awareness, make sure everybody's being educated, and make sure the research is being done to help understand it better and prevent concussions.
I have a question, sort of going on, I guess it kind of crosses several of the people we've had on over the last few weeks. You know, you have the Ohio State defensive tackle who took his own life, it looks like, and then you have the article that we were reading about where not realizing that concussions were as serious as they were, and learning to take that on yourself. How do you put a message together directed towards the players to ask for help? I know when we talked with Gabby last time you were here, you know, sort of the mantra, the warrior mentality and some of that. How do you get past that in terms of saying, look, ask for help? You know, if you're feeling overly depressed, it's not normal if you've had concussions. You know, seek somebody to help you deal with that.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because part of the thing that's come out of this is there is player education, both for high school athletes. It's mandatory to have concussion education for the high school athletes. It's the professional athletes now are much aware of it. They're all concerned about it. Athletes that are retired are very concerned about their brain and the health of their brain. And you have to continually create the awareness and create the education and have the resources available so these people can understand that there is help there.
And we also developed, through NCSS, we developed a parent and athlete video a couple of years ago. And as Dr. Lemak was touching on that, and the players are becoming more aware, we wanted to do our part to educate those players and those parents. And one of the topics actually is on concussions. You know, think about when you go home, you have a headache, you know, you've been to practice, you're starting to vomit, and you recognize those signs because you have become aware of it through, you know, even just watching our short informational video we have on our website. So everything that we can do on continuing to also focus on athletes and helping them understand and be aware of the signs and symptoms is part of that.
And Catherine, that website is www.sportsafety.org.
Yes.
Yes. And we were just speaking about players, and Gabby was with us. Reflect back on that just for a moment, Catherine.
Well, she was a cheerleader in high school, and actually was injured as they were building a stunt, and she hurt her shoulder on the first time that the top came down on her. She fell to the mat. She pushed herself through the pain, got back up, tried it again, the coach encouraging her, continue through this, you can do it. Tried it again, fell again on that same shoulder and arm, and did it a third time. After that, she became paralyzed on, I believe it was her right side of her body, and has long-term effects. She's been through multiple surgeries since then. And so one of the things she was talking about is that she, you know, if she had recognized and really listened to her signs and symptoms, but also the coach also recognizing that there were signs and symptoms of something wrong, you know, to work together on that is an important
Catherine,
aspect.
Gabby also mentioned Dr. Lemak. It was a breathtaking interview. I mean, just to hear this young lady said that a substitute player had been brought in, a substitute cheerleader.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the coach brought her in. And that leads me, Catherine, if I could, and we're going to go right to these stories now. But you brought before us a sports safety pledge from the National Center for Sports Safety. These are coaches. This is for the coach. Dr. Lemak, if I could read just a moment of this. It says, and then you print in Coach Lockamy, okay? I'm going back 30 years. I'm going. I believe that every athlete deserves to be protected in a safe playing environment. As a coach, I pledge to make a commitment to keep my players' health and safety as a top priority. I won't read on. You take it. I mean, this is phenomenal. I mean, this puts it on the line.
Well, this does a number of things, Bob. This is it brings it to the forefront of the coach's mind that that's important to them, and most coaches feel that way. Sometimes they don't have the education or the knowledge or don't have the resources where to get it, but every coach wants to make sure he's keeping the health and safety of his athletes healthy, so it brings the awareness to the front of his mind. It also portrays to the parents and the athlete of these coaches that this coach has the best interest of my child at heart, which is really important. You know, that we all get caught up in the winning of a game and in the sport. And I had a professional, ex-professional quarterback I was talking to the other day. His son's now playing in college, and he said to me, he said, you know, sometimes they forget this is a game. Of course, he was talking to me about his son's injury. He says they forget this is a game, and this is an athlete that played at the highest level you can play in sport, and he gets it, and people are starting to get it now. So they're not really tolerating people acting poorly about the health and safety of the athletes. And to be honest with you, it's the only way you can think about it.
I will read the last sentence of this pledge, the sports safety pledge that coaches are they sign and then they complete, and it says, I support the efforts and core values of preventing injuries and maintaining safety on and off the playing venue, not just in the game.
Correct.
Not just at practice.
Mm-hmm. And what we did with this is, it's simple. It's called the Sports Safety Pledge. We launched this in November, just as another reiteration that coaches know they're already doing this, but to kind of reiterate what they're focusing on is the safety is, so important. And so since we launched it, we had, a huge press release. We've had so much support. Because Gus Malzahn, Nick Saban, Bill Clark, lots of other coaches have signed this pledge and challenged other coaches, Jimbo Fisher, lots of them, and we want to continue to carry this momentum across the nation. It not only brings awareness about sports safety, but it brings awareness about NCSS and continuing to focus on why that is so important. We have it on our website. We have a video about it. And, Dr. Lee Mack felt it was really important that we continue to carry this momentum into next year.
Well, and I guess the biggest component from listening to that pledge that's probably changed over the last decade is the coaches protecting players from themselves to some degree. It seems like, that seems a lot of what the message is, be aware, speak up. I'm not just physically concerned with your health, but mentally, and that's probably the biggest piece I would think that's changed. But I don't know, is it?
I think you're spot on target on this. A coach is out there because he's competitive. He wants to win. He wants to win, you would think, at all costs, but he doesn't want to win at all costs, because winning one game or winning one championship, if you give up and you injure somebody for life, he'll wear that around his heart for the rest of his life. Because I can tell you, if I'm a coach out there and a player has an injury or gets a concussion and he has long-term problems from it, I'm going to ask myself, as every other coach, they're not coaching if they're not concerned about kids. They'll ask yourself, is there something I could have done?
Coach, Dr. Lee Mack, our coaches at Berry High School back in the 60s when we lost the player, never the same. Never. And a couple of the coaches got out of coaching. Absolutely got out of coaching. Let me do something, if I could, just for a moment. And y'all know we have great sponsors. Campus Spirit, stores throughout the state. Two stores here in Birmingham, out on Highway 280 and down at exit 238 in Alabaster. I call it the Steak and Shake Shopping Center. And but they sponsor, and I'm going to tie this in. They sponsor our Fellowship of Christian Athletes feature every week. And we had John Gibbons on, the state director, in the early hour, first hour. And John was talking about the mental, physical, and spiritual aspects of a player all tying together. And I think, Dr. Lee Mack, as I heard John speaking, I thought about the fact that if the athlete's not all together, and in many cases the coach, in most cases the coach, if they're not all together in their lives, okay, and we really appreciate Campus Spirit making that feature possible, and Daniel Moore with New Life Art. But I want to share with people, don't forget, as you're shopping for Christmas, Alabama or Auburn fans, forget it if you're another fan, okay? Go somewhere else, okay? But at Campus Spirit, the store is split right down the middle. That's right down the middle. Alabama on one side, like this Auburn on the other side. Alabama on one side, even the Daniel A. Moore prints. Even the Daniel A. Moore prints. Alabama on this side, and they have a print. Alabama on that side. And they have remind you where Campus Spirit is located. Remind you where Campus Spirit is located. And Highway 280. And I get kidded a lot about my food, whatever. Right behind Full Moon Barbecue, okay? 2 doors right of Chuck E. Cheese, okay? And I mentioned at the exit 238 at the out 65 South, Steak and Shake, okay? But you'll find Campus Spirit in those shopping centers behind Full Moon on 280. And they're open until 6 tonight. So if you haven't shopped today, and gift certificates, you say, well, I'm not sure what size. I'm not sure what shirt. I'm not sure what cap, whatever. Get a Campus Spirit gift certificate. And they'll be more than happy to help you with that. And we commend Greg Mayo for sponsoring the FCA feature. We will have some folks on later this afternoon in our last hour from Campus Spirit out on I-65, telling us what's happening, what's hot. And we know the Alabama spirit's high right now with the college football playoff position. But now that Auburn signed Coach Muschamp, and that's huge. So the Auburn family has come charging back. So, folks, when you walk in, it's not hard at Campus Spirit to tell. I need to go over here. They're going over there. Whichever. Okay? Ash?
I was going to ask, Catherine, you mentioned that Coach Saban, Coach Malzahn, Coach Fisher had signed this pledge. And I know that you work at all levels from Pee-wee type leagues all the way into college. Do you find it any different as you start reaching into areas where revenue and salaries are more in demand, that it's harder or to gain traction on an issue like this? Or is it not as it almost seems like the more money that's involved, the less this might be an issue?
I would say that all the levels that we've started reaching out to, they've all equally been, focused on this, and that they're putting this as a top priority. So we started, asking Gus Malzahn, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, Bill Clark, et cetera, to sign the pledge and to help kind of get it jump start. But we've really also started focusing on the high school and the youth level, and having lots of national governing bodies and park and recs and high schools to also focus on this. And they believe that it's just as important. And, Dr. Lee Mack, he's seen all levels of sports in his experience, and he can kind of mention that as well.
Well, I'll give you a great example. And I talked to all our professional teams, owners, and organizations about this too. The health and safety of their athletes better be in the forefront of their mind. It's very important to them, because what sometimes they forget is this athlete is their product, and if they don't keep that product healthy, guess what? People are not going to be watching their sport. The greatest example of all is how many people watched golf when Tiger Woods was injured and not playing.
What else do we need to say? That's right. That puts it in full perspective, and the impact and the preventative nature. Now, there's some injuries. Dr. Lee Mack, Auburn was devastated this year defensively by Carl Lawson not being able to play. Okay, could that have been prevented? Who knows? But a team suffers. The player suffers. And let's do this. Let's transition now. Catherine, breathtaking. These articles that you sent us to take a look at, and we see some of these things nationally. We as Ash mentioned, we heard about the young man at Ohio State that was deeply depressed, took his life. They're still, I think, investigating that or trying to come to a conclusion. But let's just start first with recently. This is not even a month ago. Am I correct, Catherine? I think this is just a month ago. In Batesville, Arkansas.
November 19th.
Yeah. A young man goes down at practice. And he, high school athletic trainer saves football player's life. And the emotion in this article talks about, how the trainer reacted immediately. And that's what you're doing. You're getting these people ready. This Catherine, help me out. This article just took me as a father.
Well, first of all, they were fortunate to have a certified athletic trainer on the field. Not every high school can afford that. And like Dr. Lee Mack said earlier, even if you're a huge high school like, Hoover High School, Homewood High School, or Spain Park, think about how many sporting events you have going on at once. Can you have an athletic trainer at every practice and every game? So that's one thing that was wonderful that they had, but you have to continue to educate the coaches as well. And then on the youth level at the Park and Rec, more than likely they can't afford a certified athletic trainer. But it was fortunate that for this player, they had the certified athletic trainer there, and they focused on CPR, which, ultimately saved his life. And part of what we focus on through our mission is to educate. We recommend that you become educated in CPR. You're certified in that, but you're also educated on sports safety topics, which is the Prepare course we educate on. And as well as, having a automatic external defibrillator, if you can afford one, try to, have one there, because within seconds, those devices are needed. And so there's a lot of components that go into this story.
I love this part, Catherine, where, the young man, Max Rucker, he's done playing. But his mom was asked about, how does he feel about not being able to play football anymore? And she thought for a moment and said, well, he's okay with that. He wants to be an athletic trainer now. He wants to be an athletic trainer with Keith, the athletic trainer, Shireman, that came to his rescue. And Catherine, I want to say this. I think sometimes, Larry, you just, we can afford it. There are school systems, I'm not going to name one, that spend a lot of money on a lot of things. And I recall way back, Dr. Lee Mack, when you did not go to a high school football game in this metropolitan area that you did not see someone from Health South there. Health South, when Dr. Lee Mack had I'm taking this way back, right? But I remember seeing the burgundy shirts. I can still see them, but we're there. Now those schools weren't retaining. You were putting people all over the place.
Right, and we still do.
Yeah, you're doing more. You were doing that way back. But I contend, Catherine, that yes, the schools can't afford it, and they ought to. Now, that's a political platform. I'm not going to get y'all caught in the middle of that, but that should be. There should be more priority.
Well, and think about rural areas across the country. We're fortunate here in Birmingham to have Dr. Lee Mack and his resources that he provides into these communities. I wish we had Dr. Lee Mack everywhere, and that's part of it. He knows that's a priority.
Well, but absolutely, but the way you're campaigning, the way you're lobbying, the National Center for Sports Safety, and when we did sit down in the summer, I had a grasp on the magnitude before I knew anything, because I knew the parties. I knew the commitment. I knew the dedication. But you can't be everywhere. But you can touch so many people. We've had people over the fall, Catherine, talk to us about this feature. And I hope that a mayor somewhere, I hope that a superintendent of Board of Education somewhere, I hope a park and rec director somewhere, are responding more.
Well, and part of Dr. Lee Mack's legacy and his vision is, starting the National Center for Sports Safety, because we're reaching people across this country to continue to create awareness, getting to those coaches, getting to those parents, getting to those athletes, especially if they can't afford or don't have accessible availability to an athletic trainer, so that's part of our mission, and that was Dr. Lee Mack's vision.
Just finishing up on Max Rucker, the young man in Batesville. It said the trainer and the athlete were united a few days later in the hospital. And the trainer says, we both started hugging and crying at each other as soon as I saw him. And it was just an unbelievable moment to see him still alive and breathing and talking. Thankful they were there, because I don't know if they had not been there, Rucker says, what would have happened? It's just now, Ash, I think you had a thought or a question.
No, I was just wondering, is there a correlating factor between safety of a program and the affluence of that program? Is
you talking about on the high school level?
Just at any level. I mean, do you find it's a safer program at a more well-to-do youth league as opposed to a less funded youth league?
No question. There's not parity across the country on safety, because the more resources you have, the more chance you have athletic trainers, paramedics, physicians, and nurses, and people available. And that's one of the things that we work on quite a bit. It worries me that small town Alabama, maybe the only medical person there may be a paramedic. Hopefully they have a physician there, and I think they're supposed to, but they doesn't mean they're always going to have one. But of course, the more resources you have, the better off you are. But that's one of the reasons we develop sports safety, because we're not worried about the people with resources. We want them to be educated too. In fact, one of the first episodes, one of the first players since we started sports safety was lost at Hoover High School. But one of the first saves that we've had in sports safety was also at Hoover High School. So, the affluence gives you a lot more resources, but National Center for Sports Safety was not only started for them, but for everybody around the state, so that somebody can take care of these athletes if something happens to them. And we're not talking about being a doctor or being an athletic trainer or being a paramedic. We're talking about a coach who's there immediately with the player and knowing what to do, and more importantly, what not to do if something happens.
Dr. Lee Mack have, in the awareness factor over the last 12 years, are corporations close to maybe becoming involved, helping underwrite? I know, Catherine, you're a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
Okay, but are you beginning to sense that there's some possibilities in regards to additional funding, additional support? Maybe some municipalities, as Ash said, maybe some park and recs, they can't find the money. Do you sense that in the next few years maybe there could be a swell of interest that could come to the National Center for Sports Safety?
I think the topic is so front and center on everybody's mind right now. It's a lot easier sell to get people to support this kind of thinking. And like I said, there's not a person in the country, you walk up on the street and ask them about concussions in athletes, they won't be aware of it. So that helps, and it helps people make a decision to support things like this, and also support the ones that are less fortunate.
Well, we're talking about park and recs. We're talking about youth leagues. We're talking about junior high school. My son coaches in junior high school, tennis and cross-country track. And I know, and he's in the Hoover system, so I know there's a process there that they're involved in, but and in the college level too. But what about the responsibility of the professional teams? And you and I have been around a lot of professional teams. maybe there's a trickle down where they say, hey, there's some youth football leagues that I know they've done things. Well, the punt, pass, and kick program years and years ago was all athletic, but now maybe could there be, because the awareness in the professional level is sky high now.
Yeah, and I think the move is going in that direction, Bob, and I think that's a good thought. I work with one league very closely, Major League Soccer, and we're doing a lot to drive down education and awareness and resources to the youth and rec levels. We work in conjunction with U.S. Soccer, who is the youth and rec organization in the United States. We have a very close relationship with them. We do combined conferences on injury and concussion, injury prevention and concussion, and at least in our organizations, everybody is very actively trying to push this down.
As you focus on injury prevention and concussions, is the society have a take, I guess, on the targeting rule at the college level? Is a game suspension enough of a penalty to deter behavior that way if it's potentially such a detrimental cause of such long-term injuries?
Yeah, I think the targeting rule is actually a pretty darn good rule, and I think it's pretty emphatic. When you're on national television, especially, and you get tossed out of a game. I mean, how would you like to be the father or mother of that boy? It'd be pretty devastating. Your son or daughter, I guess primarily your son in football, got tossed out of a game on public television, on television for everybody to see it. It'd be pretty embarrassing to me. I'll tell you what, I'd take him out behind the woodshed.
Absolutely. Coach Dyewood, he used to say back of the barn.
Yeah.
Catherine, he didn't say back of the barn. That old Georgia country boy, and came out back the barn. You know, it's and I wonder, Ash, that's a good point. I wonder, there are a lot of other things that happen in football. Targeting is horrifying if it's actually targeting.
Yeah.
Sometimes the offensive player almost brings it on to a degree. Let's share another one or two of these stories real quick before we wrap up, and boy, this hour flies away, Catherine.
Well, it really does. You know, talking about emergency action planning, which is what we were speaking about earlier, going to the story about an ambulance that was delayed on the field for 40 minutes, and the injured athlete was on the field. Fortunately, the athlete, is moving forward, but that goes back to the components of an emergency action planning, which is in the Prepare course. We're also launching a emergency action planning online program where park and rec directors, athletic directors can go and actually build an emergency action plan and communicate that plan electronically to their local emergency medical services. And, I'd like Dr. Lee Mack to talk about emergency action planning and, even speaking on this story, but he's been in so many emergency situations, and why is that component so important?
Let me, if I could, Catherine, one sentence out of this whole story. The headline, ambulance, as you said, delayed in responding to injured high school football player. Here's the father's. The father was helpless. 40 minutes, as you said. And what else needs to be said? The father and parent and family members are there.
Well, there were people attending to it. They had first responders, but no ambulance. I think
Right.
It does show, Catherine, to what you were saying earlier about the plan, is it can't just be a school. It can't just be the fire department. It can't just be the police department. It's got to be a plan that transcends all these levels to prevent, these things. And almost to what you were saying earlier about these drills, you've almost got to run through, okay, what happens if the ambulance gets called away? Who do we tell, to back that play up, in case there is something? Because they were fortunate that this was a broken leg now.
Yes.
I mean, it was still a significantly broken leg. But if it'd been a more life-threatening injury, this could have been a fatal report as opposed to just a story about, something.
So the comprehensive nature is that's what you're striving for, to have the comprehensive nature.
Yes, and the key word is rehearsal, and practicing ahead of time.
Who hasn't heard of a fire drill?
Yeah. We grew up with tornado drills and fire drills. That's
And you go into things like pilot checklists, and in the operating room, we go through a checklist. We call it a timeout. Before every operation, a pilot goes through a checklist before he gets on the plane. This isn't a new concept. This is a concept that we have to see what we've learned from in the past and put it in sport. One of the greatest examples that implemented a new program we started about 4 or 5 years ago in Italy at a professional soccer game. A player had sudden cardiac arrest, went down on the field, and they were trying to get the ambulance in, and the gate was locked, and they couldn't get the ambulance, and the player subsequently died. And it just shook the whole world of soccer. But the good news out of it is we developed in Major League Soccer, and it's been translated into NC2A, and we've recommended to all the high schools. I've actually published an article in High School Today on it, of the timeout. And this gets all the medical personnel together prior to the game and goes through the checklist. Is the ambulance here? Where is the gate open? Et cetera, et cetera. Very simple. Emergency action planning is the key to making sure that we decrease the number and severity of injuries. If you don't have emergency action planning, you're going to have a hard time thinking about it when it happens.
The good news, as you say, is the headline, and we've become very USA Today headline-ish. Okay, but when these stories now are garnering, people are getting into the articles. They're starting to see the personal aspect. And one of the other articles, Catherine, you sent us a knock to the head. The headline: a knock to the head. A high school football player's story of traumatic brain injury. I'm just going to 3 quick quotes from this article. It says, the player says, if your heart's calling is to play football, and there's no way you can be swayed by scary statistics, then go ahead and play. He says, I know what it feels like to love the game more than anything in the world. This player made this statement. He said, the talent, the adrenaline, the strategies, the bonding, the failures, the triumphs, it all used to mean a lot to me. This is before his injury. And he says, but the next time you're out on that field, pushing for that first down or tackling that running back, and you start to see stars, you feel dizzy or develop a headache that just won't go away. Don't ignore the signs in order to stay in the game. And that's, Catherine, I think when we say the comprehensive, the player has got to put this manhood away. And I don't mean that generically. I mean, Gabby, hearing her a month ago when we talked.
Listening, understanding the signs and symptoms, seeking a medical professional with, for clearance, discussing return to play guidelines, understanding about the prevention of concussions, lots of things around the topic of, a concussion. I mean, like Dr. Lee Mack said, it's really bringing awareness to sports safety in general to the forefront.
Yeah, and let me say this to the athlete I was just quoting. He said, I wanted to write this article for my many friends who are playing football in college right now, college level, and to the younger athletes out there playing high school and youth football. This is the article I wish I could have read back when I was in your shoes, okay? Back when I was still had a chance to become a person I wanted to be. Top athlete. Also, this is a confession to the closet people in my life whom I have never shared the full extent of my suffering. This young man went through depression. He went through all kinds of problems. So these testimonies, and these are all on your website. I mean, again, the website, www.sportsafety.org.
Mm-hmm. With 2 S's. Sports
2 S's.
Safety.
Yeah, sportsafety.org. You have to say that together. Yeah. Let's as we get close here to wrapping up this hour. Article: The future of high school football Can concussion concerns sack an American pastime? Dr. Lemak?
There's no question about it. I think people have raised the concern and the awareness so high. I mean, people like Joe Theismann, I've heard him say to me and publicly, he don't want his son playing football. This is a guy who did it for a living, and he's concerned about the risk of injury, and he doesn't want his son to be put at risk. So if we don't clean it up, I guarantee you it'll be a problem. Let's go back 100 years. Teddy Roosevelt, I don't know if you're aware of this story. Look it up. It's a great story. Teddy Roosevelt, back when football started, people were getting maimed and killed playing football. He brought people in. This was the start of the American Football Coaches Association. He brought the coaches together, and he said, if you don't clean up this sport, I will outlaw it. Okay.
100 years ago.
100 years ago. Fast forward 100 years. The President of the United States, as I said before, in May of this year, weighed right in on the same issue. He said, we have to make sports safer. And he talked about ways to do it. He had a brilliant panel up there talking about it, and he brought in all the heads of sporting leagues and organizations. And there is that much concern that it's once again elevated to the presidency of the United States.
Well, and the president also said if he had a son, he wouldn't let them play. He wouldn't let him play football as well, I believe.
Exactly.
Yeah, Dr. Lemak and Catherine, I think I mentioned this before. Through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, we are close to some of the junior high schools and high schools here. I spent a few years with Reggie Torborg, mentoring some young men here and going into the school. Reggie's now the head football coach at Restoration Academy and doing with young men what his high school coach did with him in Baton Rouge. And that basically, Reggie will say, is save his life. Got him on the right track. Okay. But let me ask you that, is it the resources now, Catherine, that have got to come forth? Because you're doing an incredible job. National Center for Sports Safety, the two of you, your team. How many people are involved now? Just internally?
Well, the National Center for Sports Safety, Dr. Lemak has a vast majority of resources across this country that we're fortunate to have the privilege to work with. But our office, we have a team of about 5 staff that continue to work day in and day out. And, Dr. Lemak has so many, connections and resources and the physicians that work with him and his practice we're able to work with that help us continue to advance the medical content that we provide at the high school and the youth level, especially with, the collegiate and the pro level being able to have so many resources at their fingertips all the time. We want to be able to take those same resources and provide content and usable information that the high school and the youth coach can use.
Let's recap. All right, 12 years. Have you made the progress, Dr. Lemak, that you set out to accomplish?
We will never make the progress that I set out to accomplish because I set the bar out. Every time I get close to a goal, I throw it out a little further. So we're not interested in hitting our goal. We're interested in making new goals and coming up with new ideas. This coach's pledge that Catherine and her group came up with is just another brilliant idea that we have. So we are just continuously working on making sports safer and keeping it enjoyable and keeping all the good things in sport available to all these young men and women.
Catherine, Paul Feinbaum's mom always wanted him to be an attorney. Okay? My late mom would be very proud of me asking a question because you've heard attorneys ask questions that they know the answer to. I knew the answer to that question. You will never meet your expectations, your goals and objectives.
Right.
We want to reach every coach and parent and athlete in this country. And, the statistics of 38 million youth players playing annually. Think about those number of coaches and the high school athletes that are playing. And like Dr. Lemak mentioned, though, sports, there's so many positives about sports, life lessons, responsibility, teamwork, and we just want to make sure that they're playing safe, and that's part of our mission. But we believe that sports are so important, and it's part of an American culture.
Catherine, let me ask, in 4 months or 6 months when we first talked, just here locally, I see more municipalities involved. I think Gardendale was one of the first.
Yes,
correct?
We've built a lot of relationships, throughout the state at the Park and Rec level over the past 5 years. And so we've really been going this year to the municipalities like Gardendale, like Irondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and reaching out and actually working with them to provide a suite of our programs that's touching it. We call it the REACH program, and it's using a lot of our programs, and it's touching a lot of different organizations and players that are involved in youth sports. So we're touching the coaches in the community. We're touching the Park and Rec staff that are there. We're touching the parents in that community. We're touching the athletes, and we're touching the EMS within that community through the REACH program. And it's through the programs that we've developed. They all touch those different players involved in it. And so we're continuing to take that to municipalities across the state where they're implementing these new programs that we've developed.
So two-pronged, prepare and reach. Am I right? I mean,
well, REACH,
those are the two
REACH
foundations of.
REACH is the main, is just the name, but
Yeah.
prepare is part of that. And we've got a parent and athlete video. I mentioned that's part of the REACH program. We've got a emergency medical service course that we've just developed that's on equipment removal for the EMS. We developed an emergency action plan online program to teach Park and Recs how to build an emergency action plan.
You know, Catherine, I just reflected back. How many times in the past have we seen a player go down, Dr. Lee, on football, and staff would run out. First thing to do is take the helmet off, pull the helmet off over the years. Ooh.
Yeah, and think about if they have a neck injury and could that further damage. So
Yeah.
that's part of the components of that new course we've launched for EMS, as well as a policies and procedures program that we wrote over 30 policies and procedures and checklists for Park and Recs to implement, and that's all part of the REACH program. So all of these components that we have available, we're offering them as a suite to these communities across the state.
Dr. Lemak would like for you to sort of give us a summary in just a moment, but we started out almost lighthearted. Ash and myself talking about our advances in our social media for sports and stuff. We've been here a year and a month now on Sunday afternoons, and we're really beginning to be what we hope and want this sports and stuff venture each Sunday afternoon to be. We discuss, we dialogue, and we debate. Okay? Sometimes it's just a ball game. Sometimes it's a personality. Sometimes it's an issue. Sometimes it's an opportunity. And that's what, and on our social media outlets, Catherine, our folks, and we're closing in on 1,000 friends right now. And I commend that young man sitting across the glass. And some of the other folks, Andre Lindenberg in the beginning, who was with us. And now Ani's being a mom, Dr. Lemak. And she is incredible. Yeah. And but helped us get started social media wise. But I know Ash is going to explode, encouraging our friends to go to www.sportssafety.org, and then we've got the Twitter connects and everything else, and Ash will get into all that for you. Okay, Dr. Lemak, summing up this year, and Catherine, we really look forward to continuing this as convenient to the National Center for Sports Safety.
Thank you.
Part of our gift, okay, to the community. Okay, sum it up, Dr. Lemak.
Well, I think to sum it up, parents, athletes, the general public want a safer playing environment for athletes. Not only they want it, I think they demand it. And if people don't get on board, they're going to be ostracized. The coach at Michigan this year was criticized nationally for the way he handled it, and I don't know or even care to know the details. But I'll tell you, the public's very, very aware of it, and you're not doing it, you'll be criticized. So the public wants and demands it, and that's what we're providing, something that we were kind of a little ahead of the curve back in 2001, but now it's front and center in everybody's mind. And so we just want to perpetrate the health and safety of the young athletes.
You know, Dr. Lee Mack, folks in the media take a lot of hits sometimes. Oh, you just stirred it up. Oh, you're just provoking. Oh, you're just negative, that type thing. I'm so proud of our dear friend Paul Feinbaum and where he's arrived now. And yeah, we did a lot of provoking, and yeah, we did a lot of, I don't ever think we ever did trash talking, okay? But we were very provocative. And to me, that's the upside now. We live in a world, in an arena of communication now. And what I think we just have to do is make sure our priorities are in place to where Catherine, the story of the National Center for Sports Safety and the theme and the campaign and the lobbying just have to become more and more and more part of the message. And,
Absolutely.
Without question. Dr. Lee Mack, always great to see you.
Thank you, Bob. It's great to be here with you.
I will close on a very lighthearted note. Where you're sitting right now, young lady that flew to Iowa City with you, Tammy, sat right there. Catherine, you're sitting to the caddy corner from the Alabama banner. Okay? And over here,
she's more entertaining than me.
No, well, she's not as informing as you, and you're very entertaining, Dr. Lee Mack. Your sense of humor, I've always been amazed and always been encouraged and inspired by the way you, kind of like Paul Feinbaum, the way he crosses wit and intellect and informs and entertains. Okay, you bring a great message. I miss the times you used to be with Paul on those afternoons. Very informative. But Tammy sat right there. Mm-hmm. She would know under no circumstances sit where Catherine's sitting, caddy corner of the Alabama banner, or even look at it. Do you know that her husband, her new husband, as she says, is a Bammer? Did you know that?
No.
He is. He came right here and sat right there, Catherine, in that corner chair.
Nice guy, too.
Nice guy. Pretty nice guy. Not sure he's totally together, but, I mean, look what he did. He married, I'm just kidding. Dr. Lee Mack, that was another. Catherine, you know all about that, the trip to Iowa City with Dr. Lee Mack and
yes.
Paul and Joe.
Really cool.
And Tammy went up to see Robert from Iowa.
Right.
Yeah. Dr. Lee Mack, we wish you the best in the holidays. Catherine, we wish the National Center for Sports Safety continued progress.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And pass that along to your families and your staff. What a great team. We have so enjoyed, Catherine, having a few of the physicians, a few of the fellows, and then having the opportunity to speak to the executive director of Pop Warner Football and Gabby, as Ash mentioned, the young athlete who's now out there, Miss Kentucky. I always
Miss
Minnesota International.
How could I say Kentucky?
Miss Minnesota International.
International. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was phenomenal. All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now tune in when you head out. Justin Kraft, and I apologize for having to be sending some text messages a moment ago. Justin was going to be here in the studio, but his mom had an accident this afternoon. She's fine, but some attention being given to her now. So he was wanting to make sure if we could do the interview. Justin is part of the foundation that's been working to try to hold on to UAB athletics. Okay, so tune in as you, So tune in as you head out.
Mm-hmm. We'll listen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye now. All right, Ash, we are going to catch up just for a moment. Justin's on hold. Let me do a couple of things real quick.
Can I pay the bills real fast?
Yeah, let's do this. And thank you, Catherine. Let's do this. Let's talk about Joe Fuller.
We should.
Yeah, we should.
Steadman Fuller.
Have you met Joe? Joe was in one day. I don't think you were here.
I do not believe I was here then.
He's coming in real soon. Real soon. Be back in. Joe Fuller, a pillar in this community for 50 years. and back with the Birmingham JCs, did a lot of things to help bring a lot of activity to the and we're okay. I'm going to talk. I'm just going to do the talking right now. Normally we play Charlie Day. We're going to give Charlie a timeout. Let him take a break. Joe Fuller. I want to talk about Joe and his family.
All right.
Talk about Joe Fuller, his wife Vicki. Precious two daughters, son-in-law C.D. Denson, who we are touting as the future of Steadman Fuller. It's going to be Denson Steadman Fuller one day. We're going to paint that sign on the sign, the name, okay? But let me just point out a few things that Steadman Fuller, independent insurance agency, Joe Fuller, former president of the Alabama Independent Insurance Agency Association here in the state of Alabama, and also profoundly involved nationally and very much involved politically, because the lobby that has to take place to protect the insurance industry, I'm not sure anybody in this state knows more than Joe Fuller, okay? But let me just talk about, if your family's interested in coverage, you own a home, Ash.
I do.
You have an automobile.
I do.
Well, your wife has an automobile. You have a truck.
Yeah, it's what's left of an
What year is that truck?
95.
95. So you at least need to keep liability.
It was. That's all I got on it.
But that's smart. And that's what Joe would tell you. You know, some agents might not do that.
I had to take it in this weekend. It had a wobble. I had to fix the wobble.
We bulls wobble.
Yeah.
Yeah, your truck wobble. Let's do this. Let me talk about real quick. The coverages, though. We talked about home and automobile, fire, boat, mobile home, our travel trailer, then University Station RV Resort Park on Highway 14, insured by State Auto, which is one of the great companies that Joe Fuller, and they have. Motorcycles, commercial properties, commercial liability. This is what Steadman Fuller will do for you. Business owners, call them. Call Steadman Fuller. And how do you call them? Simple. 414-1476.
414-1476.
Do you know something I just realized? I am so proud of Joe Fuller. They have a website. Yeah. www. So simple. SteadmanFuller.com.
SteadmanFuller.com.
That's that simple. And we're going
for all your insurance needs.
One thing I know, Ash, that you're working on is that we're going to be listing all of our sponsors who make it possible on our Facebook page. We want our Facebook friends to know who our sponsors are. Not just hear it here, but know about it and take care of it. Now, we got Justin Kraft.
You should.
On the line.
That's assuming that I push the right buttons.
I bet you will. Justin?
Oh, wait, hold on. Try now.
Justin? Well, I hear the UAB
push this
fight
button.
song.
Let's see.
How
about that button?
Justin? There.
I'm here.
And you hear the UAB fight song in the background. That's Ash. Ash cooked that up. Justin, we are hoping the best for you and your family this afternoon. Now, your mom has had a slip up.
You know, well, it was a great day. We had all of our family, extended family together, and my mother was actually in a swing set with her great-granddaughter, and the swing set, the chain came off, if you can imagine, so she dropped but held on to the great-grandbaby, but she ended up just breaking a finger and just kind of got bruised up a little bit, but thank you for asking about it.
Well, she took care. She, as a grandparent, I can feel it. Hold on to that baby.
She did. I was actually watching it. You feel helpless. It's like I was about 10, 15 yards away. We were outside, and it's like slow motion. You see it happening, but you can't do anything about it. But everybody's okay, so that's good.
Well, Justin, I feel like I almost need to start this with an apology, because when you were on a few weeks ago, to me, I almost had sort of the same reaction. This is a terrible comparison for you, but of sort of when I first heard the Harvey Updike call to Feinbaum, was you called in, we had a real quick talk, and it was sort of, I'm telling you, UAB is in trouble. You need to look out. I wrote the article. You need to be aware. Be aware. And it was sort of, we hung up the phone, and Bob and I were talking, and I was kind of like, yeah, UAB program, they're going to shut it down. Sure, they're going to shut it down. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, I felt like, I was like, I almost feel like I need to call Justin and tell him I didn't take him as seriously as I should have.
I wish that Ray Watts and Brian Mackin would have made it appear that way. They had that opportunity, and unfortunately, what we feared, as you said, ended up being reality, and it was a pretty sad day for not only for those kids and that coaching staff that had accomplished so much, but frankly, I really believe for my alma mater and the city of Birmingham, this is just not a good thing perception-wise, and it's certainly not a good thing from an economic standpoint. So I'm pretty disappointed in UAB. I really am.
Well, now you were sort of the canary in the coal mine there for a bit, and almost got sort of the scoop on everyone else, but only by, it wasn't months and months ahead of the decision. I mean, you were only 2 or 3 weeks, I think, from your letter to the actual termination. What did you see, or what did you find that allowed you to make that, connection or find out that information that everyone at every level, was missing?
I'll be honest with you. I felt the same way as most everyone did. I was honored. Jimmy Filler, a very successful business person here in town, who's been very philanthropic and done a lot for many organizations over the years. But he has really been a big believer in Coach Bill Clark, and has always been a believer in UAB football and what it could be. Frankly, he had been discouraged, just about the leadership over the past 7 or 8 years. But with Coach Clark and all the momentum, he was very excited, and he asked me to be a part of the board of the UAB Football Foundation. And we were working closely with the city of Birmingham, which you've seen Mayor Bell in some of his letters and comments in the media. We were putting together a plan to build an indoor practice facility in Coach's office for the football program, and it was going to be a public-private partnership. And we had the opportunity to go meet with Ray Watts, his financial CFO, Alan Bolton, as well as Brian Mackin, the athletic director. And Jimmy was very down because he had met with him once before, Jimmy Filler was, but I was actually very excited. If you know me, I'm kind of a glass is half full kind of guy. So I went into the meeting very optimistic, thinking that we're really about to turn a corner with UAB football. And frankly, I think I told you guys, we just weren't received very, very warmly in that meeting, and that's when it was revealed. I'm a numbers guy by trade. I'm in the financial planning and investment world, and knew a little bit, enough to be dangerous, about the budget numbers and things at UAB. And as we presented our preliminary plan for building a new on-campus facility that Coach Clark wanted, with Coach's offices attached to it, Dr. Watts stopped me in my tracks and said, we're if you're looking to invest in athletics, we're interested, but if it's just for football, his exact words were, I think you're premature and we're not interested right now. And that really just floored me, to be honest with you. And I just said, well, I can't let it go that easily. If you don't mind me asking, why would you not be interested? And they started quoting numbers to me that you've seen in the Carr report. And I kind of took issue with those numbers because they weren't exactly accurate. And I had a dialogue with the CFO and reminded him that, that UAB, their subsidy is not $20 million, it's actually $14 million, because UAB is a little different than most universities. They actually have a budget item for scholarship charges, which means they write a check for $6 million to the university, which in turn gives them a subsidy. So 20 minus 6 is $14 million. And then I reminded him that puts them as one of the lowest subsidy levels in Conference USA, and it's also much lower than South Alabama and Troy, which are the teams that we compete against. And they were sort of surprised by that number, and they said, well, we didn't know that. And I said, well, you need to understand that before you make these decisions.
Justin, I am appalled to know that the leadership would have the audacity to even utter the fact that they didn't realize, and then they took such a drastic step in action Justin, let me ask you this. I've tried to keep my ear to the ground the last 2 weeks, okay?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a situation now where this battle, football, we're not going to have a UAB football team next year.
That's correct.
Not going to happen. All right, so the battle's been lost, okay? I want to zero in on something. We have no, and I say we because I'm a proud graduate of UAB, School of Urban Studies. I have a pretty decent grasp on what this is all about other than just a football game. We don't have an athletics director.
Correct. Shannon
Ely is serving as the interim athletics director now. Number one, I think that has to be a priority, that somebody's got to form a search committee, somebody's got to find somebody to come in that understands, number one, the world of athletics. Because we got a basketball team, a baseball team, a soccer team. We've got other softball. We've got all kind of things happening. But then I have to back up and I have to ask, and I try to regard and respect. I ask for that in return from folks. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. Was Brian Mackin just asleep at the wheel? I mean, why was Brian so bashful? He knew that the city of Birmingham, that contract had been redone for a one-year deal. Surely he did. If he didn't, he should have been dismissed a long time ago for incompetency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why do you think Brian Mackin was asleep at the wheel? And I'm quoting it. I'm saying that. You're not.
Yeah. You know, Bob, and I apologize for being so long-winded. I just wanted you guys to kind of have some of the backstory. But
Justin Kraft, you're not long-winded. Justin, you're a guy with passion. You're a guy with purpose. I've been around you. I've been around your firm. You guys have a serious business in working with people about their finances and their futures, their future retirement plans, things of that nature. I knew the very moment, and I told Ash after that first afternoon with you, I said, I'm excited as a UAB alum that Justin Kraft is front and center. So you just keep talking.
Well, you know, as far as Brian goes, I will be very, very honest with you. I've been extremely disappointed. I'm just amazed. I consider Brian a friend, although I haven't talked to him in about 6 weeks, which is unusual. I was pretty involved with the athletic department, and we wasn't uncommon to talk 2 or 3 times a week. But ever since we wrote our letter as former players, I have not heard from him at all. I did try to talk to him at the last home football game at the Marshall game, and it was a very brief, short conversation. But you're right on. I mean, to sign a one-year contract, to hire a great football coach and have him bring over staff and families and to see the kind of kids and the character that they had that was recruited here, it's really disappointing. You know, he played at UAB, played baseball, and talked about how Coach Bartow was his mentor and hero, frankly. He said that many times. And, you know, I know, Bob, you knew Gene Bartow, and I certainly knew Coach and spent time with him, and he certainly would have handled this situation a whole lot differently.
Justin, let me say this. Art Clarkson and I both were very fortunate and to be able to get behind the scenes with Coach Bartow. And I don't want to say consult, okay, but share thoughts, share ideas, and have an idea of where Coach Bartow wanted all this to go, okay, and why. All right. And there have been others, but I know that Art Clarkson and I both were touched by the sincerity of Coach Bartow. And you've been in this circle, you've been in the arena, and I'm with you, but I have to almost excuse, I guess, Brian, and I'll make a comparison.
Yeah,
there are superintendents of certain boards of education in our metropolitan area. I'll make it very broad, okay?
Yeah.
That are under unbelievable pressure. And the state law clearly indicates, and I know this, I ran for mayor in Hoover 10 years ago. There are certain things mayors and elected officials can't do and sure shouldn't do. But the undue pressure that's put on some of the superintendents, just unbelievable. And do you think that Brian had no out? David Housel had no out when he got on that plane to go to Louisville.
Yeah.
He had no out. David knew better. Byron Franklin knew better. I'm talking about Jetgate, folks.
Yeah.
But do you think Brian Mackin really had no option?
You know, it's a fair question, Bob. I think sometimes you hold people to a standard that you try your best to set for yourself, and I just know that if he had no option, then that speaks volumes for the situation that UAB is in. Because I think, frankly, you know, people in Birmingham and people that are involved with UAB really need to be concerned, because Gene Bartow knew his vision, and we talked about this. One of my favorite memories is, you know, a couple of months before Coach Bartow passed, we sat at Ted's restaurant, had a glass of tea, and we talked, and he shared with me why he started UAB football and the vision of having UAB as a major university, like a Louisville, like a Cincinnati, Central Florida, TCU were some names that were thrown around that are in metropolitan areas. And he knew in order to build a undergraduate program and to be in a conference that basketball could succeed in, that we had to have a successful football program. And that's why he fought behind the scenes. And, you know, this is, to me, this is really symbolic of a bigger gesture, is what is the vision now for UAB? I mean, is it just to be a medical research center, or where are we going to be with our undergraduate programs? And frankly, why was the football team, you know, the first domino to fall, so to speak? So, you know, I hear what you're saying, and that very well could be the case. I would love to hopefully have the opportunity to find out one day.
Justin, I got a tough question for you, I guess.
Yeah.
What becomes of the UAB Football Foundation?
You know, I think it's a great question. Right now, every member of the foundation is you know, very passionate about UAB athletics and UAB as a university and its success. You know, obviously, if there's not a football program, there's no need for a foundation that builds facilities. But what we see happening right now is there's a desire and a belief that we can bring this back. And it may be naive to some degree. It may take a few years, but I firmly believe, you guys, that we'll be back on your show one day talking about the plan to bring back UAB football. And that's going to be our intention and you know, sort of a new and evolving focus of the foundation.
Well, let's assume, for the sake of the argument, Dr. Watts abdicates the presidency now or in the future, and a new president comes in and says, you know what, I agree, it was a mistake, let's bring back football. How do you avoid us ending up in the same situation we're in now?
Yeah, I tell you, I think Jack Williams and a lot of what he is talking about is really getting a lot of attention. I've spoken to many members of the legislature that have reached out and said, you know, I've never been for this in the past, but this was unethical, this was wrong, and the way it was done was wrong, and it's time for UAB to have a voice on the board. So I think the first step is you know, there's multiple things that has to happen, but for Birmingham and UAB to have a voice in their future, I think is extremely important for everyone. So whether it's their own board, whether it's equal representation, I think that's something that a lot of people are getting behind and ready to commit to, and in the long term, I think that's the answer.
Justin, as we wrap up, let me ask you this, and following what you and Ash just talked about as far as the foundation is concerned, Coach Getman, a lot of things on the drawing board there for the soccer program. Coach House with the basketball team. We got a great baseball facility named after a gentleman, Jerry Young, that was part of that beginning. Okay, and other teams and other athletics. Could it be that I almost want to say, blessed be the peacemaker, that the foundation says, okay, look, Yeah, we're not going to give up on football. There are things facility-wise in the metropolitan area that may occur, may not occur. Gene Hallman acts like the dome is going to happen. It hadn't happened yet. The expansion of the Civic Center. Hopefully we're close to that. Now, so things could change in the next 3 to 5 years. But is it possible, do you think, that the foundation, because Coach Getman, as just an example, has been there and has paid his dues. Coach Haas came here wanting to make things happen. Could it be that the foundation could kind of back up a step and say, okay, yeah, football, we're not going to go away on this, but we're going to also see that we help the athletic program to because I think that it's going to be tough. I think right now, from a fan support standpoint, this is going to have an impact. It's put a bad taste, and that may work in reverse. Hopefully it will. But could the foundation do that, Justin?
I don't know that we'll need to, because according to the president's own words, he's not lowering the subsidy level. He's just going to redirect it to other sports. So if that's the case, UAB, the foundation, could stay focused on its ultimate goal, which is bringing back the number one revenue sport, which, by the way, last year alone earned right at $10 million. So the big question I have that not one person has been able to answer, and I've posed it in 2 meetings with the CFO, how can you keep a subsidy level at $20 million, yet you just lost almost $10 million worth of revenue?
Yeah, the numbers
you're going to replace it with track, which is a losing sport.
I'm going to make a suggestion as we close.
Yeah.
And I think this is one that, and I know the sport I'm about to mention has some issues as far as liability insurance, things of that nature. I think UAB athletics ought to consider bringing in women's gymnastics. And DARE, the University of Alabama Board of Trustees, dare Sarah Patterson to stump against it, as Wimp Sanderson did everything he could to devastate UAB basketball. I'd put women's gymnastics on the board. I'd call their bluff. I'd find out, hey, look, because, Justin, you and I, we know you will be standing in line outside the Bartow Arena. The young ladies, the girls' gymnastics program throughout the metropolitan area, throughout this whole state, you couldn't get a ticket. I mean, from the rafters of UAB Arena.
Yeah. I tell you what, I think that's a wonderful idea, and I would do a little bit, do a little digging and ask some questions about what sport was recommended when UAB brought in synchronized swimming in the early 2000s, and it was gymnastics.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
It would have been a great idea. So, kind of goes back to your earlier question: is what really has to happen for UAB to be successful from an athletic department standpoint, and frankly, they've got to have a voice in their own destiny and in their future. That's the reality that I've learned through going through this.
Justin, I got one last question for you as we sort of wrap up.
Yeah.
What, if anything, that you're aware of, should the community be focused on surrounding UAB in the short term? Is there any other, I don't want to say skeletons, but is there any other things that the community needs to draw its attention towards to stave off or try and course correct?
I think whether you're an Auburn fan or an Alabama fan, I think most people are fans of Birmingham and in the community. And UAB is the driving force. And having a growing, thriving undergraduate program would do nothing but benefit all the businesses in the Birmingham metro area. And I think what people should be concerned about, because obviously UAB alumni and fans are concerned, but if you're just an outsider looking in, the inconsistencies and the method in which this all took place would be very concerning to me. And to know that is the leadership of the largest economic engine in your city and, frankly, in your state, I think it warrants a lot of questions. So I would really pay attention to all the inconsistencies and how can we be more transparent as a university in making these decisions. Because granted, I know tough decisions have to be made, but let's do it openly. Let's do the true data, and let's see where things fall. And I think if you do that, you'll get a different answer.
Justin, thank you so much for this time this afternoon. We're going to stay in touch with you over the next few weeks, the next few months. This issue is not going away. It's a major issue in regards to not just UAB, but our metropolitan area and even our state. And Justin, commend you for your steadfastness in this opportunity. I know Coach Bartow would be mighty proud of you, Dr. McCallum, many people that are proud of the front that's there. And stay at it, and let's stay in touch.
Well, I appreciate it. Enjoy the show. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Justin. Justin Kraft and UAB very much involved right there at the top of the UAB Football Foundation with Jimmy Filler, Don Heyer, Harold Rips, and the list could go on and on. Did you hear who just walked in? Did you just hear who just walked in, Ash? Could you hear coming down the hallway?
I could.
The jingle. That's Chris Kringle. I have photographs here. Now I'm going to do something. I want to take care of a little business here. Talking about some of these great sponsors, and I'm going to double up here for a moment, okay? As we get into our last half hour, okay? Sharper Image Landscaping. I want to make this very clear, folks. It's December. A lot of people are not thinking about getting their grass cut.
Sharper Image doesn't just do grass cutting.
That's right. That's it. That's the bottom line. And I mentioned the other day that my brother-in-law, his company, they have property throughout the metropolitan area, and Sharper Image Landscaping takes care of their property. And when they have a vacancy, folks are not hesitant to move into that property because they see how the property's been taken care of. Landscaped, continued leaf removal, things of that nature, edging, all the things go into landscaping. So the name says it, Sharper Image Landscaping, LLC.
Well, and you can't take care of your yard once it becomes a problem. Once the weeds are there, it's way too late.
Well, and that is another. I mean, you've got the
You got to winterize your yard. Dethatch, take care of the leaves. You got to do all that stuff way before the spring comes around.
And fertilization is a year-round deal.
Yeah.
I've been told by many people, and look, we're very fortunate. Sharper Image Landscaping is taking care of our home, and that's, and I'm very. I mean, they have turned our lawn around, and our whole home looks different. Everything looks different. I had some people over for holidays the other day, and they were just amazed. And I want to just simply do this. I want to encourage you. It's December, okay? Call Sharper Image Landscaping. Get your year-round plan now put together. Put a strategy together. And that's what Jerry Majudi, Justin, and his wife Jerry Kay, that's what they'll do. They'll put their team together. They'll come out and look at your business. They'll come out and look at your home. The telephone number, 410-6783. 410-6783. And I want to encourage people, you can go to the website, sharperimagelanscapingllc.com, okay? And you can see, because the list is long. We talked about a few things, but landscape design. Get to work now on that to where come spring, everything's in good shape. Shrubbery planting, okay? Fertilization, lawn dethatching, we mentioned all those things. Gutter cleaning. Don't tell me you don't need your gutter cleaned this time of year.
Especially if you got some trees over the house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, get that done. Sharper Image Landscaping, 410-6783. Okay, Pete's Print. Stopped by and saw Pete yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Pete's going to be looking at a couple of possibilities of helping a couple of folks in wrapping of their automobiles. Pete's got this great-looking PT Cruiser, okay, and it's wrapped Pete's Print.
I've seen it.
Oh, it is
snazzy.
It is. Snazzy's a good word.
I need to reach out to Pete and see if I can't get some business cards going for myself.
Oh, you need business cards. Hold on. Just leave that be. Okay.
Is it Christmas time? You trying to tell me there might be something coming?
You might get a business card. I thought you wanted Pete to wrap that truck of yours, that 1995 jalopy. I mean, I'm sorry. What kind of truck
I don't
is
think
that?
Rapid's going to save that one.
Oh, you never know. But, Pete's Print, they can do that. They do signs and banners and T-shirts and mailing. They do all kind of things. Mailing services. You just don't go to Pete's Print to get copies made. I need 10 Xerox copies. Well, sure, they can do that for you. And I've often said and proudly said they laminated my Medicare card. I thought I stumped the band, but nope, they could do that too. Brochures, stationery, booklets, all type things. Variable data printing. I'm not even sure I understand what variable data printing is, but it's not important that I don't.
Pete does.
Pete does. Amber does. The whole team does. Megan, everybody. I bet even Chris Kringle would know about that. Now, one more. The Egg and I.
The Egg and I.
People are out shopping.
Quickly becoming our favorite place of meeting.
Oh, it is.
Or your favorite place of meeting, I suppose.
Well, here, breakfast.
I don't know where you conduct your business if you didn't.
Brunch and lunch. That's right. And they're open. You know, the other day, I was having a meeting at the Egg and I in River Change.
They will throw you out at 2 p.m., though.
2 p.m., that's it. Yeah, you heard about that. You were there. That's right.
there.
And I turned to you and I said, Ash, you hungry?
I said, yes.
Yes. And I said, our server walked over and I said, he might need to look at a menu. And he said,
Go somewhere else.
We just closed. I mean, and the kitchen was shut down. I'm sure they would have accommodated us.
They
if
would.
They could.
And I was heartbroken because, I mean, we ended up rebounding
to a degree
to another fine establishment, but
we did.
But it wasn't what I'd had my heart set on.
Well, and look, I'd already had lunch there.
No giant pancake.
Oh, I know. And the Friends of Hoover had their meeting there that day, so I'd already had brunch. Okay.
So you eat there twice in one day.
Now,
That's
you know
how
there's
good it is.
3 locations because you and I have gone to 280.
We have gone to 280. We have gone to Hoover River Chase.
River Chase. Now, Vestavia is next.
All right. Well,
Vestavia in the shopping area.
And we'll have visited them all.
That's right. We'll make our rounds. We'll try to do that this week. Yeah. I think Chris Kringle would like to go. Yeah. He's smiling like he would. All right. Welcome to the arena. Look who is here.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas, Bob. How you doing?
Wow. How do you like that? You like that music?
I think so. It's great.
You think so? It is great. Listen to this. Ash, this this is amazing. I mean, I not tonight, but coming soon.
Coming soon.
To a theater near you. Hey, Ash, I have to tell you, I walked into our church a couple of years ago on a Sunday, and there's a gentleman sitting on the back pew, quietly by himself in the corner. I'd never seen this guy, but I thought I had seen him before. And I introduced myself, and I said, I'm Bob Lockley. Welcome to Vestavia Hills Baptist Church. And I said, and you, sir, are? And he said, Chris Kringle. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, man in church going to tell the truth, the whole truth. And, I mean, you know.
Truth.
Oh, man. And we have, you were here a year ago.
Yes, sir.
Come closer to the mic there, Santa. I know you're a humble fellow. Okay? You were here 1 year ago.
Yes.
With us, and Andy Lindenberg was right here. And
that's correct.
If I'm not mistaken, within a couple of days after that, from that program, someone reached out, and you went to the Lovelady Center.
Absolutely.
And visited 67 children.
Yes, 67.
Still sticks with me. I mean, that... Okay, all right, now, Chris, it's Chris Kringle, right here in the studio, folks. We're going to post photographs on our website, Facebook. Do we have a website yet?
I don't think so.
No, we have a Facebook page.
A Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah, we do, yeah. Sports and in stuff. Sports and stuff, in. That's apostrophe in. Or
Sports and Stuff, where you find it, facebook.com/Sports and Stuff FM.
FM. Oh, that's what we are. 97.
Sports and Stuff FM is the moniker on Gmail, Twitter, and Facebook.
All right, so I'm going to send you, Ash, the photos that I just took quickly for proof.
Send them to me. I'll get them on there.
Yeah. All right, so Chris Kringle. It's December 14th.
Yes.
What's ahead for you in the next 11 days?
Oh, my goodness. Well, this coming week, I'll be at Oak Mountain Missions, Monday through Thursday. December 19th, I'll be flying out to North Carolina for a group of kids out there to share the...
No, wait a minute. You're not...
Sleigh and reindeer flying, of course.
Yeah, that's what I asked.
Well,
I mean,
the sleigh
is this
only,
commercial or
this is
commercial?
Commercial because the sleigh only comes out on Christmas Eve. The reindeer. I'm only allowed to have the reindeer on Christmas Eve.
So Rudolph is Union, isn't he?
Well, I don't know about Union, but we're getting close.
Dancer and Prancer and all. Oh me. Now, Chris, before we go any further, though, Ash was not here last year.
No.
Okay, you're a very unique Chris Kringle. And we want to thank our friends, Brandon over at Cross Creek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all the folks over there at Cross Creek. They do a tremendous job in our community. Have this incredible farmers market from the spring into the summer.
Yes.
and a lot of other things too. But you and I met before that, and now you've become very involved with Cross Creek Baptist Church.
Well, some of their outreach as far as the community here in Pelham. We did the Ice Bucket Challenge this summer.
Yeah, I'm still shivering. Ash, you should have seen Chris Kringle taking the Ice Bucket Challenge. What a man! I was proud of you.
But yeah, they do a lot of different things. They had Trunk or Treat this past October.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Tonight they're having a special. I think that's the reason Brandon's not here tonight, because they're having their Christmas.
Oh, he's the pastor. He can't be here.
Right.
I mean,
so
he could be, but he probably wouldn't be the pastor much longer. Thank you.
But yes, they're doing a great thing as far as trying to reach out to the community and be a community church here in Pelham, and so it's just been.
Well, let's take that though, because you are an incredibly unique Chris Kringle. Okay.
Yes.
Now, your mission is to deliver joy, and the little coins that you give youngsters say a lot. But you just tell us what you want to bring to the folks who get to meet you.
Well, the most important part of my ministry is it's okay to believe in Santa, but Christ is the most important part of Christmas. And so many years we've missed out on that. And I'm in the process of writing a book called The True Meaning of Christmas, told by Chris Kringle. And so, sharing the love and the joy and the peace of Christ this time of year is so important. And, there's so many kids out there that just don't see the true meaning of Christmas, which is all about the love of Christ. It's God's gift to the world was his son, Jesus. And that's why my ministry is so important. And I reach out to those families and those nonprofit organizations that need a Santa that will be more than happy to share that love and that peace and that joy that comes with just being who I am and who God wants me to be.
Now, you've brought in a couple. This little teddy bear. I need to get another shot. No, I do have that.
Papa Bear. I brought him in last year. Remember, he tells the true story of Christmas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, please. Yeah, right. Get close to the mic there.
The true story of Christmas, the birth of Jesus. The shepherds were watching their flocks in the fields near Bethlehem, when suddenly the angel of the Lord appeared, and a bright light shined from the sky through the darkness. The shepherds were afraid, but the angel said, "Do not fear, for I bring you good tidings of joy for all the people in the world. For unto you is born this day in the city of Bethlehem a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. In the town stables you will find the baby, wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in the manger. Glory to God in the highest, and peace on earth, and goodwill toward men," said the angel. The shepherds talked to each other, and agreed to go to Bethlehem, and see this miracle which the Lord had made known to them. And so they traveled, and celebrated with joy at the blessed sight of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Well, Chris, so you're just not a... Look at that. That is a great chuckle. Great laugh.
It comes natural.
All right, so you're not a one-night stand.
No.
I know I probably shouldn't have said that like that, but Ash is blushing. And you're blushing, Chris. I got you to blush. But, all right, so you're very busy now. You got a lot of outreach. You're going to North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and then you got what? The Birmingham, what outreach mission? What?
Oak Mountain Missions.
Oak Mountain, yeah.
Monday through Thursday. I was at Children's Harbor last week, and that's a nonprofit organization that reaches out to children who have terminally ill illnesses, but they reach out not just to the child, but to the entire family. And it's a great organization, and just had a great time there, and just, God's opening so many doors for me, allowed to share the spirit and the joy of Christmas to so many people, and it's just absolutely amazing this year. And I've got a lot of elves this year, and I've got elf approved certificates this year.
Now, tell us about that real quick. It's,
well,
elf approved.
Yes, the North Pole Central has stuff with Hallmark, and basically what they
Hallmark cards.
Well, Hallmark cards and
yes.
Different things.
Yeah.
I have magic snowballs that you can get in some of these different stores where when you throw them indoors, they light up, and they're soft, and they're a lot of fun. So what they've done is, if the kids meet me and they hear the story of Christmas, they get elf approved, showing
okay.
that they have met the Christ Santa here in Pelham. So.
Well, that's neat. Now, you didn't have that last year.
No.
And again, let me ask you that's part of the Hallmark card shop people, or is that?
Yeah. Well, they're the ones that kind of back this up a little bit for me, because they've heard a little bit about me, and they've kind of stepped in and presented some of these. Sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. It really depends on the time of year. So.
Well, but it starts with the children listening.
That's true.
Now, last year when you were at the Lovelady Center,
yes,
67 children.
Yes,
they listened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They listened to Papa Bear, and he just told the whole story of Christmas, and it's amazing how kids light up when they see Santa, when they know that they've had so much going on in their lives, and then when Santa shows and gives them a special toy, or they hear Papa Bear talk about the true meaning of Christmas, that Christmas glow that
and not just the children, but their moms at the Lovelady Center.
Yes. Now, most of the moms got these special crosses that I have special elves to make, which I think I've given you one last year.
You have, yes. Uh-huh. And you gave my granddaughter and grandson one.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And also this year I have special ornaments, wooden crosses, that two special elves in Georgia actually are making for me. So,
wow.
So they make those and send them to my ministry. So it's really been a huge blessing this year.
Well, Chris, now you're traveling this week, okay? Next weekend.
This weekend.
Okay, then the following Thursday, Friday, that Monday leading into Christmas. I bet it's just nonstop for you.
Yes. Well, it's basically nonstop since last Tuesday on.
Yeah.
It's just been.
And then other opportunities throughout the year too, where you go out and minister, just like the Ice Bucket Challenge. That was back in August, I think.
It was in August, yes, sir.
Yeah, and there was Chris Kringle. Yeah.
And this coming February, the mayor of Pelham has challenged Santa to jump in the lake up here at Oak Mountain State Park for the polar bear thing. And
great.
I told him, I said, I'm all
Mayor Waters has asked you, and you said sure.
Absolutely. A couple of churches are talking to me right now about doing a special Christmas in July kind of vacation Bible school thing.
Oh, I like that.
So to tell the true story of Christmas.
As a matter of fact, I may talk to our church about that.
It will be an awesome thing to really reach out to these kids and share that. A lot of kids, they celebrate and we do all these traditional things, but we miss out on the real story of Christmas, the real meaning.
Yes, the hustle and bustle has taken us away in so many ways.
It really has.
Yeah. Well, Chris, we thank you for taking time. I mean, I was hesitant to even ask you to take time to come by.
Well, I am so thankful that you invited me by, and it's just been an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, Chris, we give us a little more of that. And the jingles.
Well, you have a Merry Christmas this year.
Oh, I love it. Just love it. And we wish you safe travel in more ways than one, and safe message. You bring such a wonderful message to the folks and to the children and their families. And we wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And be very, very careful. And we'll stay in touch. We might want to get back with you after Christmas.
Okay.
And after you get your breath,
and then yeah, and let you give us a report of some of your upcoming things, like the situation with Pelham, and then July. Okay.
Okay.
But we'll talk about all that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have a blessed night. And Merry Christmas.
Wow. Ash, did you have a question there?
No, I was just saying Merry Christmas as well.
Well, he's got three daughters, Chris. 3 young daughters. 2, 4, and 6, right? 2, 4, and 6.
2, 4, and 6.
2, 4, and 6. And they heard the message. They heard Papa
They
Bear.
did.
And
Yeah.
we'll make sure that they get the elf approved.
Excellent.
certificates.
Well, you can walk around and see there, or you just hang for a minute. We have got we're going to talk to the Campus Spirit folks right now.
Okay.
Great Spirit too. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you so much.
All
Merry
right.
Christmas.
And Ash, we're just going to keep it right here. We're going to go right to Linda.
All right, hold on.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to make sure I know how to do
Make
this.
sure- yeah, let's
say
do
I
that.
push this button.
Push that button.
And
Ash, you
then-
have done a great job. two
Yeah,
hours.
so I already hung up on Linda once today, so hold
right,
on.
let's try
Let's
again.
see. So if I push this button,
Yeah, I
then
believe
maybe
we're there.
she's on the air.
Linda.
Yes.
All right.
All right,
I
Linda.
said I did hang up on her once already, so I'll try not to do it again.
Thank you.
Linda, I know you did not mind waiting a moment or two in line behind Chris Kringle.
No problem with that.
Oh, I tell you, Linda, it's special. And as a matter of fact, Linda, I will shoot you a photograph of Chris in our studio, because I've already gotten a few texts from people going, "Come on, Lockerbie, that's not Chris Kringle." I said, "Wait till you see it."
I'd love to see that.
I will send it to you.
Great.
I promise. Linda,
Yes.
Campus Spirit, exit 238. That's your store right there at the Alabaster exit. I kid about that being the Steak and Shake exit, and it is for me and my family, and it's the Campus Spirit exit too.
That's great.
How are things going there with the Campus Spirit store there at the Colonial Promenade?
It's going great. We are having a great time. So many people are showing up and shopping for themselves and loved ones. It's been a great time.
Well, Linda, I mentioned earlier, we talk about Campus Spirit this time of the year every hour, and Greg Mayo and all of you, you sponsor our Fellowship of Christian Athletes feature in our first hour. But you know, this is a time that we encourage folks, if you can't get there or get there and you just don't know quite what to get a gift certificate. You guys have gift certificates, correct?
Sure we do.
And I guess that takes some of the pressure off of some folks who are going, well, I mean, they know if their loved one's an Alabama or Auburn fan.
Oh, my goodness. Almost everyone here has a loved one that is a football fan.
And Linda, I love telling the story about the folks who maybe for some reason not been in or are going to get there, though, that you walk in and it's clearly defined. Clearly defined. I mean, the line is not there, but it's there.
It's there. Some people separate at the door and go their different ways. That's true.
Linda, the first time I came by and met you and Diane and a couple of the other folks there at the Colonial Promenade Campus Spirit store, I just sort of stood back for a few minutes. You guys were busy, and I stood back for a few minutes, and it was fun to watch people walk in and turn to the left or turn to the right.
That's right.
And
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, they have fun with it, too. You know, they love to go their separate ways and then join back up as they walk out the door. But they're there and fun, you know, and we want it to be that way.
Well, Linda, it is that way. I talk about, we're proud to have Campus Spirit as one of our sponsors and one of our partners, and there is a great spirit. My wife and I and our grandchildren stopped by the 280, the new 280 location on our way down to Auburn. Sometimes we go 65, sometimes we go 280. This trip, a couple of weeks ago for the Sanford game, we were going down 280, so we stopped by. Even had our spaniel dog with us, okay, who visited the store for a few moments and thankfully just didn't visit the store, if you catch my drift. But it was we were there for about 30, 40 minutes, and it was just a fun time. And there were some folks who had come in from Indiana from an Alabama standpoint. We're Auburn folks. But we just had the camaraderie. The camaraderie was so good in the stores. And I know that the move from the Summit out to 280 has been an exciting opportunity this fall. But now you guys, are you in your third year there am I counting right, or more?
They've been there for 7 years.
7.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble with Mayo now. But he knows my age. Linda, Greg Mayo knows my age and stage, okay? So he will forgive my mental lapse.
I'm sure he will. We have people that find us every day that did not know we were there, and we're so thrilled that they do.
Well, Linda, what seems to be, and I would think over the last week to 10 days, Alabama's been hot. Now, Auburn, with the hire of Coach Will Muschamp, I think there's some adrenaline in the Auburn family now. Not that there wasn't, but what seems to be the item? Is there a specific item in the Alabama and Auburn families for holiday this year?
Well, of course, right now we're having the SEC championship shirts and the hats that we just got in, and we've got some shirts for Alabama for the Sugar Bowl.
Oh, for the college football playoff semifinal game,
right?
Which is huge.
Definitely.
Which is huge. Well, Linda, let me ask you this: gift certificates we mentioned, coaches. And by the way, too, I got a sweater vest the other day. I'm known for my sweater vest. But you guys had a wonderful, almost like a fleece-like. So you've got all kinds of apparel, and not just apparel, but items.
That's right. We've got plenty of gifts for people. You know, you kind of think of us as like the Hallmark store of sporting goods, too. Frames that we have, purses, scarves for the ladies, gloves, things like that. There's always something that you can find in there. It doesn't necessarily have to be just clothing. But, of course, we've got so much of that, too. We have so many options for everyone. People come in, they had no idea we had so much.
Well, Linda, it's our pleasure to talk with you. We talked with Michelle last week over on Highway 280 out there in a couple of doors down from the Chuck E. Cheese location next to Inverness Golf and Repair. And I kid about Steak and Shake, but do you have your exit 238, and when you come off that exit and head towards Saginaw, up the hill, go up the hill, you're on the right, and you're one of the first segments of that shopping area there.
We are. You go in, you'll see Olive Garden to your right. We are between PetSmart and Firehouse Subs. I think almost everyone knows Firehouse Subs.
I do.
People come over to wander while they're waiting on their food, which we love.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Linda, thank you for taking time. I know the doors are about to close. 6 o'clock. Ash has a question.
I would excuse me if you already talked about this, but what is the best seller of the 2014 holiday season?
Linda, isn't that a much better way to put that? I said, what's hot? I mean.
For the ladies right now, it's the Spirit jerseys. Everyone loves those shirts. We just got a shipment in the other day, and they're going quickly. But we do have quite a few still to offer. And the guys, of course, the jackets and the sweaters and sweatshirts, we have a lot for everyone.
If Alabama goes down the way, goes farther into the playoffs, or Auburn wins, how long will it be before Campus Spirit gets some of that gear in?
We usually have shirts available the next day. Score shirts from those games.
Perfect.
Especially championship games. We may even be open after the game. We have done that before.
Linda, and we want to stay in touch with you and Michelle and Greg and the whole Campus Spirit team in regard to that. Now, we're closing out this hour, closing out our afternoon. Linda, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, good luck with the Campus Spirit week and 10 days now leading into Christmas and afterward.
I know. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Linda.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Linda. Ash, what a day. What a day. And I love finishing with Campus Spirit there, the great spirit of the Campus Spirit folks. Thank you for being a friend. Our sponsors, our guests today, John Gibbons, Lynn Scarborough, David Carrington, the National Center for Sports Safety with Dr. Lee Mack and Catherine Gwaltney, and Justin Kraft. And what a way to wrap it up. Chris Kringle and Linda Kershey with Campus Spirit out there on Colonial Promenade out at exit 238. So, Ash Quakenbush, did you have some fun today?
I did. It's a little stressful the first time on this side of the glass.
It's behind you.
I think I figured out enough buttons, which ones to push and which ones not to push, that I can probably do this better. I probably won't hang up on anybody next time. And
Hey,
maybe we'll get on the air on time.
Your
so.
rookie game is behind you.
It's a
and you